Well, the video intro is not overlaying on top of us right now, but let's let the music play out. We are Squawking Dead, podcast pulverizing episodes, programs beyond the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make it laugh, most times we go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by
Karina, at Karina_D on Instagram and at Karina Art everywhere else.
And also Bridget, aka Punky Brewster, who you can find on youtube.com/Punky Brewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER. I think you have to do the at though. Well, you'll figure it out. At Punky Brewster. For now. Well, and we're here live with you to talk about, as Neo's one says, LFG, and everybody knows what that means because I can't say it. The Last of Us' 6th episode. It's Penultimate season 2 finale, titled "The Price." Yeah,
Is it the finale?
Penultimate. Second to last.
I guess I didn't know what that meant. Whoops.
So yeah, and I'm so glad to see both Neo's the one, of course, and Francisco. But it was the best episode of this season. I really enjoyed more Bella's interpretation of Ellie when she's a kid rather than when she's an adult. You can tell she's handed different scripts. Maybe, yeah. Like it could be that when somebody's writing for a younger Ellie, it could be penned or headed by a different head writer. That's not unusual, by the way. It's kind of like an acting choice in a way. Like when you think about a kid, you act a different way. But it could be the same for writers and writing. Finale is next week. Oh, and hey, speaking of interruptions, Bridget, by the way, is, as I silence my phone, as one often should do, Bridget is actually watching the end or the remaining minutes of this episode. So she's experiencing something interesting at the moment. Yeah. The most interesting, maybe? Would you agree that that's the most interesting part of the episode? Like the most meaty?
Yeah, I would say it is, and I will also mention that they've jammed 2 very meaty scenes into one scene, which was an interesting choice.
Okay. So, we'll talk about that when Bridget's actually done watching it.
Yeah, it'll be fresh on her mind, so it's kind of perfect.
She can
fresh.
Yeah, she can hear us right now, so we're like technically spoiling it for her. Ooh.
Oh shush. Okay.
Francisco says, "Nice T-shirt, Dave." Yes, it's our logo design T-shirt from our coverage of
Dead
Fallout. That's right. And Karina was there for that. And I love that for us.
I'll be there for the next one too, in December.
Yes, you will. And there's a specific thing that I can't wait to show you people. And it's so far away. We can't even, how am I going to hold it in? We're going to, seriously, Karina, this is like an exercise in what was said often in this episode, patience and delayed gratification.
I'm good with that because I didn't tell y'all anything about Fallout that you didn't need to know. So.
And same with The Last of Us so far. I mean, technically, really. So
it's been so hard, and now I know what things I'm going to have to keep to myself for like however long it takes to get season 3. I'm really not thrilled about it, but I can make it. I'll make it happen.
Well, do you have any news on that, or did you find anything out about season 3 of The Last of Us? Like, because I know that they went into production soon afterwards, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any.
Or am I thinking Fallout?
Maybe. I know that they greenlit the 3rd season for Fallout already, and they've already wrapped season 2. But I just know that Last of Us season 3 is happening. I don't know when. I don't know when they're filming it.
So we just know that it's happening. They don't know if they're in production. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we didn't say that on air. Is that Fallout season 3 was greenlit way before season 2 would ever see the light of day. But in the process, they told us that season 2 would be coming out in December of this year.
December. Yep.
Okay, which coincides with like some of the newspaper articles, like the Christmas present that we didn't know was happening is season 3 of Fallout's coming out way before season 2.
Woo!
I love it for us.
I'm so excited for all of it because I've seen screenshots of specific locations, and I'm gonna have to learn myself up on
I saw
New
some
Vegas
of them.
again.
Thanks, actually, Francisco, for a little of that because he put some of those images in our Discord.
Yes.
Right before we're going to eventually blow up a couple of our channels so I can redo them. Bridget, say hi to everybody first of all. You're on mute. And
I couldn't unmute. It wasn't working. Hi. Hi,
Hi.
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
late. I'm here.
Hooray.
And Neo's the one says, "Come back with the emotions." And Francisco says, "I want that uranium fever soon from Fallout." And he said,
Yes.
"December's just a radiation away." It's just a
True.
half-life away. Well, it's
It's a
a
half-life away.
year away. Well, housekeeping, because one of the things, listen, we were just bantering and we love everybody and we're talking about things that we can't talk about yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
sort of. Yeah, housekeeping. Actually, we didn't premiere it, but we dropped our interview with Logan Schmucker, who plays Victor on, or played, let's just say, Victor on The Walking Dead Dead City, although that might have just spoiled Francisco a little bit since he didn't
Oops.
start watching Walking Dead Dead City yet. And it was a great conversation. I highly recommend getting the unedited episode recording of that interview because it was nearly 2 hours long, and I shortened it down to about an hour and 5 minutes. So you can tell there was a lot of backstage banter and joking and stuff that just didn't make the cut because sometimes when I'm nervous, I'm cringe. That's only part of it. But the other part of it is
Part of it.
we had like lengthy conversations about just going back and forth about life sometimes a little bit too, and joking about Kermit, the two Kermits bar, like Kermit the Frog, that we started making voices, and it is in the actual episode, but we just kept going, and I cut that off. But like, let's say two Kermits come in and decide to make a bar in Bushwick, Brooklyn. How many people would flock to see it? It's like when Bill Murray visits different bars in Brooklyn. Just like that, all of a sudden that bar blows up in popularity. That would be the two Kermits
Yeah.
bar. But going to that, we dropped on YouTube this morning at 10 a.m. And as usual for the last several months, I do drop our episodes on YouTube 12 hours before they end up dropping on our all podcast platforms like Spotify Video, etc. So by the end of this live stream, at the very least, you will have it on all podcast platforms. So I highly recommend you check that out. It's just such a wonderful chat. And I just remember throughout the edit, the last few days I was trying to edit this interview with Logan Schmucker. I was just smiling throughout the entire process because it was just such a fun and pleasant conversation, and just going into the acting world and his music world and growing up, and you could actually weave a sort of narrative of how he got here and how his journey led to ultimately the thing that he didn't think was possible, acting and playing music in the same project, because he was trained as a violinist and he dabbled in acting, and something kind of lit him up there and he pursued acting, and then the Dead City thing made him circle a little bit back to music. He had to get a teacher and to kind of train up the pieces he was playing in The Walking Dead Dead City. And so it's pretty cool. And if you want to know about how the sausage is made in a TV production, it's such a great keyhole into seeing that world is through his eyes. And I think that's something everybody does kind of want every now and again. Most people want to know the generic things like the character and the how is the prosthetics and stuff like that. But I like to dig into the process, into what people don't often see. You know, what goes into this whole show even. So I hope you guys check that out. And I think, is there any other housekeeping that we want to get to? Other than that, I mean, there's merch in our merch store, but for The Walking Dead Dead City, and there's obviously the Last of Squawk's logo design. I don't think we're going to have an art design for this year. We didn't have much of one last year either, but that's like one of those cease and desist please ones, actually. I think it's still up, maybe. Anyway, hey everybody. So let's get into this episode. The first things first, part of it is the price, is the title of this episode. And how does the price, as the title, relate to this episode? It's such a duh thing. But let's go to Bridget, because this episode is very fresh in your mind, having just finished watching it.
Literally.
Hey, Heather.
The price. That's what I'm evaluating?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not quite here yet.
What's the name of this episode again?
I have a lot of things to say about a lot of different aspects of this episode, and it's fine. I'm fine.
We'll jump to that very next.
I'm fine.
That thing, yeah.
It's fine. Didn't emotionally wreck me at all. It's fine.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway,
It's not fine. We're discovering it's not fine.
Clearly.
The price. Well, okay. Whoa. Okay. So, couple different layers here, right? There is as yeah, you're joking, Francisco, but at the same time, you're not wrong.
Joking, Joel giving his Legos away.
He's joking about the Legos, but the Legos were the price for the cake. So there's this idea of like this bartering system and this smuggling kind of thing.
Everything has a
And-
price, a cost.
Yes,
Yeah.
everything has a cost. And we see that with like the cost of keeping Gail safe was that she didn't get to see Eugene one last time. The cost of him keeping her safe meant that he didn't get, like, it works both ways. Like, Gail was robbed of it, but he was also robbed of it. So it's a price that they both paid.
And that somebody has to be the
I'm
bad guy.
I'm emotionally reeling right now. I'm so sorry.
Well, we can go back and forth.
I did come back with the emotions.
I would not want to do this like moments after finishing an episode, and I've played the game before.
I kind of did too.
Like...
But she was just watching the episode for the first time too.
I was. Yeah, that's the
so
thing.
everybody knows. It's not for notes.
No, and this is like, and I played part 1, but I did not play part 2, and so because I knew what happened to Joel, and that's why I refused to play part 2, even though I did buy it. I did buy it for the podcast. Like, I was like, Dave, I'll do it. And then we had you on, Karina, for Fallout, and I was like, please just ask Karina to do it instead. I
don't wanna.
Please don't make me. Yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna be able to come up with more later on. It's just that right now I just want to get like a lot off my chest right now, and just.
Well, why don't we
do
go
with
to
that what you will
Karina and then we can see where we go. Karina, what
Okay.
what other price things?
So the first thing that comes to my mind is the price of Joel's honesty with Ellie. He knew that he had to finally tell her the truth, and the cost of that was going to be that she would, as he puts it, turn away from him, that he would lose her. But I would also like to point out, because I'm talking about it, I've always admired and loved the way that Joel never apologizes for what he did. He never says, I'm sorry I did this. He always says, I would do it again. If the Lord gave me another chance to do that moment again, I would do it again in a heartbeat. Even if it means that you hate me for it, I'm still going to do it every time.
Or you turn away, which is more than hate.
Yeah.
It's like, I hate you and I don't want to be around you.
Exactly. And so that's the first thing I think of for the price. The price, not only that, but also the price of Joel saving Ellie. The cost of that was the potential to cure all these people, maybe or maybe not. Like, in Ellie's mind, she believes that he robbed the world of a cure. I don't believe that personally, but
I love how the show kind of makes it seem as though, because we kind of spoke about this, but the show kind of still angles in such a way that definitely she was the cure. Just definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and so does the game. The game does that too. Like, I mean, you have those hints of it was a little, maybe it will work and maybe it won't, but it's very subtle and it's very easy to miss. I missed it the first time I played the game. I mean, you find these audio recordings and things like that, and the moment that you find some of these major ones, especially at the very end of the game, it's like, I just want to see what happens. You know what I mean? So you're like rushing through and you're like, I'm not really paying attention. I'm getting chased by soldiers or whatever. Like, I'm not listening to this audio recording.
I'm not going to take a minute.
Playing. Yeah, nope, I don't have time for this. So, it's ambiguous in the game, but only slightly. So it definitely leans more towards she's the cure and they're definitely going to cure it by using her to do that.
Right. And the show dissolves
yeah.
any illusions of that. So which is interesting.
For sure she would have been cured, but she would have been the cure.
Let's also jump to the chat. Bridget, do you have it open? Okay. Because I know that some people answered this question, which I love. This is what I love about the chat.
Okay. Where would you like me to start, Dave? Because I wasn't here at the beginning.
I mean, I have on the top of my screen, damn, you all had the juice of season 2 in those spoilers.
Okay, great. So
says Francisco.
Neo was just mentioning that it was really cool that you got to meet Logan in person and that he's almost finished with the interview.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. You are a ride or die, honestly.
Hey,
I love it. I love it.
I'm not ready to say that just yet, but I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Heather says, "Hello, my friends," and I said, "Hi,
Hi,
Heather." Francisco said a question about Dead City, and that question was answered in our last episode. So I'm just gonna leave it there. Just go watch the other episode
when you're ready,
when
Francisco.
you start watching.
Yeah.
And then Neo said, "Did I come back with the emotions?" Asking me, and I did. Very obviously. And then Francisco said the cost, Joel never promised his dad he would repeat the same mistake he did. Or he wouldn't repeat it.
He wouldn't repeat, yeah.
Yeah. And I have so much to say about that scene. I have so much to say about that scene.
Yeah,
Yes.
I felt that one too.
It's good. It's good.
Okay.
And we talked about
I love how it blurred away from you.
Yeah.
Like emotionally just
your camera had emotions too.
Hide me, camera, hide me.
You're producing a magnetic field, Bridget, which is affecting your camera negatively.
I'm almost 100% sure that I will cry during this episode.
We'll see.
Filming of this episode.
Maybe listen, Bridget, maybe you will, maybe you won't. We don't know. More Bridgetisms. Well, let's get to the thing that we wanted to. Why don't we jump to the? Because there's a lot of calls. Even Karina, when you were saying, Joel was saying, "Sorry, not sorry," right?
Yeah, he doesn't apologize. Yeah.
Ellie sort of says the same thing earlier on, and I hadn't written down in my notes at all, and it was the effect of, "I'm sorry that I did drugs, tattoos, and fooled around with a girl." Well, I don't know if she said fooled around with a girl or kissed a girl. I think this is what she said. Yeah. But also not sorry.
Also, I'm not sorry. Yeah,
so,
like in a way, like I'm sorry you're upset about that, but I'm not sorry that I did it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of sorry, not sorry.
Isn't that what he said too? Kind of in a way, like with his eyes, first of all, crying.
Yeah.
Well, it's this concept of being like unapologetically you.
Well, yeah. Or like, I'm sorry I took that away from you. And in a way, isn't that what okay, I'm going to say this loosely and I'm going to clean it up later, but in a way, Ellie took away the idea that he had of her before he found out about her. Like, because he had a vision in his head. Yeah.
I understand what you're trying to say. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, how hurtful it must have been for Ellie for him to say, "I'll come back and talk to you when you're yourself," and she was probably the most herself she had been in her whole life in that moment. And he dismissed it like it was like not important or something that should be ashamed of, you know.
Well, so we should clean that up because he's of a generation. It's 1983, and it's not about that. It's because she's high.
Yes,
that's
getting a tattoo
what he means by that.
At 17, you know, she's too young to be engaging in any of this. I don't care if it's with a girl or a guy or whatever. Like, you know, he thinks that, you know, he's got this image of her being this innocent kid, and she's just not that. Like,
yeah, and I love how they laid the groundwork for his thought process in the years prior. Yes. How he's just like, "Oh, you I see the way you look at him. Like this is giving you, cause this way it doesn't come out of nowhere when he drops this weird bomb that you think is a bomb, but it's not really a bomb because they laid that."
Yeah.
Like his befuddlement.
His protective, like, yeah, she's 16 at the time, and she's like, "How about this? I promise I won't get pregnant if you let me go on patrol." And so she's like already thinking like, this is an easy promise to keep because there's no chance of that happening. Like, you know.
And you may ask yourself too, why doesn't she just come out with it? Well, she has things to protect herself, right? In a sense, like, will my not really dad not be cool with this?
Right.
In a way.
Well, everybody would feel, you know, anything that you have to reveal personally to that degree about yourself, fearing that those close to you are going to reject you for it. Of course. I mean, it doesn't matter what situation you're in. I think we all would have that fear. So.
But also that crippling, it's something you said actually, Karina, that it's not only that, because of course we all have that fear. We don't want to disappoint the ones we love, but it's also that additional fear. Ellie herself, she said to Joel, you mentioned loss in the last episode. You don't know what loss is, kid. And she goes, "I've lost everybody and everything, and I don't want to lose you," essentially, down the road.
Yeah.
And so you pair that with this, and it's kind of like, well, you're not really my dad, technically. And so there's more of a chance in this logical but illogical sense that you'll walk away from me. You have no...
Easier for him to just walk away.
No blood tie.
Things get too hard. Yeah, like... Yeah. he doesn't have any obligation to her now that he's
Well,
gotten her to safety and whatever else in her mind. I mean, obviously he's not going to abandon her now, but she doesn't know that. You know what I mean?
Right. And why would she? Because Joel isn't
right.
really very wordy, too. He doesn't
Even at
talk about
all.
his feelings all the time, obviously.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. They've proven Ellie and Joel have proven over and over again because Ellie is like Joel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that they just that kind of stuff they keep private, right? Like it
Mhm.
takes a lot for him to say, "I killed these people because I love you." Like
Yeah.
it's not something that he's just saying all the time. Like he calls her baby girl. He like does these really grand like gestures for her. So the
Like
love is
slowly,
very
slowly.
evident. It's
Yeah.
very evident to us, but they're the kind of people that don't say stuff out loud. So like even if she's nervous about the coming out aspect of it, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that like this is something that she feels she should be able to maintain privacy with because Joel would maintain privacy. If he were in a
Yeah.
relationship all of a
Fair
sudden with a
enough.
woman, he would
Mhm.
hide that from Ellie. And like he
Wow.
would,
I
because
think
that's just
he
If only
he
for the
did
ridicule.
with Tess. Like he just didn't really discuss or talk about it, and didn't show that in front of anyone. And like even to Tess, he wouldn't. He refused to admit the kind of relationship that they had. He would not say it out loud. And like how challenging that must be,
And
to
how
be with somebody
accommodating.
who, right, like. Yeah, for sure. To get off track a little bit, like Tess was obviously a angel, like to not only accept him exactly as he was, but to not ask anything of him, like beyond that. Like,
I had this thought, too, about people are really quick to judge the relationships of others and how there's an imbalance here. Obviously, something wrong is going on. And just from my experience, listen, for what limited experience I have of both my parents and other relationships and even my own for the last 10, almost 10 years, 10, 9.5 years marriage, there is complete imbalance. I mean, it, it's more about harmony and what we're willing to do for one another than it is about you do this in exactly the same amount that I do that, and you do this in exactly the same amount. It's not about that. And if you count beans like that in your relationship, you're doing something wrong.
yeah.
You're because then you're constantly looking at your partner, right? Because this is what Ellie says earlier. I'm your partner, ride or die. You got
Hmm.
my back, I got yours. That's how you should be looking at relationships. And then you figure out what works comfortably between you two, and there will be an imbalance. One person's gonna do one crazy amount of the other thing. You are gonna intrinsically do the other thing as much as you can.
well,
And
that's how you make it work,
yeah, you
right?
make
Because
it
Yeah.
like because
work.
you're not going to be able to bring 100% into every single day because things are going to happen. And when that happens, your partner is then supposed to pick up the slack and vice versa. Right? Like
Yeah.
that's how that works. Like that's why like everybody will be like marriage is hard. I get that. I understand the sentiment. It is work. It doesn't necessarily make it hard. It's just work. But going into it knowing like okay, well the goal is that like the two of us should have like a goal together. Like I shouldn't have like my own separate goals that you can't get behind and you have your own separate goals that I can't get behind because that's not going to work. You're just going to butt heads. But if you're working and in this instance you're working towards purely survival, which I think you could both get behind. But Ellie is also, as we find out at the very end, looking for meaning, which I
Yeah.
100% can understand so wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So I get that. But she's young and so that's like top of her mind right now, right? Is like why am I here? What am I going to do? Especially knowing something so grand.
Yeah.
you you are immune when other people aren't.
Nobody else is. Like, yeah. So even the small comfort that she may have had in believing what he said about there being dozens of immune people is taken away in that moment that
Yeah.
he admits that he made all of that up and she was and is the only one. And she feels like her life has no meaning now that there can be no cure given to her. And you see how she struggles with it. You see it in the game and you see it in the show somewhat, but more so in the game multiple times when something happens with someone who gets infected and she's powerless to help them. And she knows, and she's keeping a secret, the fact that she is immune. And there was a way, possibly, for her to have helped all of these people. Eugene, um, you know, Nora, in a way, she gets infected and she probably could have saved her if there was some kind of vaccine in place. Just anyone that she's lost since Salt Lake, she feels some level of guilt because she can't help them. And she's placing a lot of that blame onto Joel's decision. And I have more to say about that scene, but I'm going to wait until we discuss it a little more.
Okay.
But, yeah.
I want to throw in one thing in that it is, if you jump back to the present, which this episode does at the end in the pissing rain, as Joel put it earlier in the episode, she comes back to the theater and there's something waiting for her. There's things there, and we don't know what those things are. Karina might. I want to say part of what brings us back to the presence is that line, the line that was used in this show, and that was, "I'm going to be a dad." And I want to say, having had this episode, that line makes so much more pregnant sense. And
Yes.
pun intended, because saying that is to say, I understand why you did what you did. Because
Right.
there
She
is
has an opportunity. Yeah.
because it's not just about, and I love this argument, because you will ask people this question and you will get a different answer. If you had a chance to save the world but kill like 5 of your closest friends, would you do it? That sort of scenario.
Yeah.
But you'd be saving the world from calamity. That's
Yeah.
You'd think that's an easy question, but it's not, though.
It's not at all easy.
What about one?
What if it's your child that's being, would you kill your only child?
Right.
And for Joel, the chance to save Ellie where he could not save Sarah, he would not give that up. And clearly he didn't. He didn't give up that opportunity. Even though by the Abby's standards, by the rest of the Fireflies, maybe a lot of the rest of the world would probably say, oh, the decision shouldn't have been a challenge at all. You obviously have to save the world because that's the greater good. But in that moment, Joel is not thinking of that. He's thinking of Ellie, the only person that matters to him. And he just didn't give her up. And I don't blame him for his choice. I really don't.
One of the best arguments to this question is, even if you had the cure, this is something we actually sort of talked about last year at the last episode. It's so what? Who gets it? That's the other conundrum. Will somebody control it? Is the world still going to be horrible because it just fell apart and it's too hard to rebuild society? People have too much knowledge of the old, still has enough knowledge to know that either they want to hoodwink the younger generations that came after or during, or...
Well, it's a lot to
There's
say,
too much corruption.
We're going to hack into your brain to take the piece that we need for this very important vaccine that we don't know if we can replicate. We don't know if it'll be successful. We don't know a lot of things. And then, so what? Like what? You get one vaccine out of it, maybe? And then who gets that one vaccine? But you've killed an immune person to make someone else immune. So then really the trade-off is nothing.
Well, I'm even just saying.
So it's just like, it doesn't.
But let's say you
It's
get
the
all of
trolley
it.
problem. Ethically, it's the trolley problem.
But it's bigger than the trolley problem, because you're not just dealing with a potential. Let's say all the conditions are met and you can save the world with this vaccine. Now you have to deal with people. The people in charge of the vaccine. And if it's the Fireflies, look at the WLF as a model, right? They're the people who defeated Fedra, and how are they looking right now with the Seraphites? Not great.
Yeah.
That's your indicator. What would happen even if they had the cure, which should make you feel a little bit better, by the way, for Joel's decision, because it's kind of like the world ended and it's going to continue to end, or you have to live a different way. But even if there was a cure, it might not even matter, because let's say you cure everybody, you can still get bitten and hacked apart by the infected that are still around, by the way. So,
and does getting the vaccine make you immune, or does it just cure that one potential infection? The same way that if you get a vaccine for the flu, you can still get the flu in the future. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you'll just be more,
but like,
you'll be more resistant
so,
to the, and then who's to say later on down the road, there's a worse strain.
Yeah, like,
and yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's not bacteria
Exactly.
or virus. It's a fungus, but the fungus could be, and well, what is the cordyceps anyway? It's a
But
fungus that
in the-
resisted
don't
heat.
fungal infections become immune to,
Well, that's the
like,
basis
has
of
that
the series.
happened?
That's the basis
Yeah.
of the series. The series.
Well, in the very beginning, the very first episode, they talk about what happens if a fungus mutates, excuse me, or evolves to survive a warmer temperature and
Well, that's what we talked
is
about. Yeah,
able
that's based
to
in
live in the
actual
body.
science.
And that's exactly what happens. So it's already shown that it's capable of evolving and mutating. Of course it's going to evolve and mutate beyond the vaccine that you make from it. I think over time it's going to find a way to continue to proliferate itself. You know what I mean?
If it did it before, it could do it again. Basically, that sort of
Exactly.
thing.
It's going to find a way.
Maybe, maybe. Let's
Potential.
go. Let's go to the chat, Bridget.
Okay.
Because so much good stuff coming out of the champ. I love it, including
Francisco says Ellie doing the drugs, music, and sex. It's like all these kids in her age who want to grasp into that lifestyle or reach into that lifestyle, but that lifestyle ends up hurting people more than make it cool. Which is 100% true, Francisco. I lived that life. I'm just gonna tell you, I'm not cool. So,
But she made it. She's here right now.
I am alive
amongst responsible individuals who do not
thankfully.
dabble in
Thank God for
illicit
that.
substances.
Joel, since he lost his daughter, I feel like the stoic personality is too thick to crack, and is probably hard for him to apologize on what he does because he doesn't think straight. Which I agree. The stoicism comes from everything that he's been through before, and that's what we were talking about earlier. That like inability to share your feelings
or to think a different way. But
Yeah.
What I love about this episode most is that he illustrates all the different unlearnings that he wants to unlearn. And even that night where he said the thing about I'll talk to you when you're yourself. Again, he thinks she's high, and so she's not thinking or speaking straight. So I want to have a rational conversation with you as an adult when you're not as high. He takes a different tack. When he hears her going to the garage or about to go to the garage in the pissing rain, I love that pissing rain line. He tries a different tack, and I really, really appreciated that because he could have continued down the line of saying "my house, my rules," which he started off saying. And then she rationally and calmly, because again, Tess accommodating him in his inability to connect. Ellie does the same thing. That's what love is. Sometimes you have to accommodate and sacrifice for the ones you love, and then they could come around, they might not. They have to sacrifice for you. Ellie, you're kind of annoying, and so Joel has to do that for you. So I just love that part of it, and so. Well, I don't remember what I was saying. So
I don't know either. I'm gonna go back to the comments.
About the stoicism. He's changing. You could see he's changed like a butterfly. One could say.
Ew.
Mariposa.
Just
Gross. Francisco said, I actually hate moths so much. So
Oh.
desperately. I'm terrified of them.
That's one more in the con box of playing Last of Us 2 because there's
There you
moths on
go.
the loading screen.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I have like a weird thing with Mothman too. It's like I'm like not okay with
The prophecies
the
and
concept.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, Francisco is gonna do a little bit of comparison here to Walking Dead, but I'm gonna read through it. There's a little bit of here. So, Rick Grimes in the show could be very stoic and do actions he probably never apologized for, and he's living with them. In the comics, he showed more emotion, but he also was more angry towards people at certain points. Joel can also be a little bit like Negan, maybe. Negan in the comics took a long time to apologize for killing Glenn, but also he never changed who he was. They changed that in the show. Of course, Negan has shown emotion before because of Lucille, but my main point is that both could also be hard to apologize for what they did. It could be hard to apologize for what they did.
Isn't that people?
And, yeah, 100%. And
Hard-
then
tough to
Skylar
change.
Rose says hi. Hi, Skylar.
Hey, our Whisperers member, Skylar Rose, PW,
Yes.
excellent pro wrestler.
Yeah,
Greetings.
pretty impressive, honestly,
Yeah,
Skylar.
that's
I'm
pretty cool.
I'm a little bit afraid.
Should be jealous,
You
actually.
Kick my butt.
I would love to see you both in the ring, though,
You could
too.
kick my butt
Just-
for
just
sure.
She's working out, man. She's doing it. Next up. There's more, right? Or did you
That's
combine
it.
them all? Oh, you
No,
did.
that's
You
it,
did.
Dave.
Oh, well, he says I want to be a dad. Oh no, Francisco. Well, to responding to what I said earlier.
Dave,
What?
you said, give up control, Dave. Give up
I
control.
don't give up
It's
control
okay.
easily. I
It's okay.
have a
It's okay,
content
Dave.
error.
I got it. I've
Content
got
error.
it. Move on.
Syntax
No, it's
error
okay.
10 for
It's okay.
compiling in Visual Basic. Anyway. So
Not Visual Basic. I hate you. I hate
let's
you right now.
well, at least it's not basic. So let's go to that last
No,
scene.
that's me. Basic. Anyway.
No, you basic bitch.
Stop.
He stares as though there's an error.
I am though.
Let's go to that last scene because I think. Do you remember? This is me admitting to a wrong, which I'm prone to do when I am wrong about a thing. Remember at the end of the last episode when I said, it's not about Abby at all. She's not going about them at all. Well, I was thinking it was about her not having the chance to cut Joel slack for what she knows he did.
It's okay, Dave. It was meant for you to think that.
You're supposed to think that, yeah.
And so
Okay, Dave.
now that we got that flashback, I'm right about the thing I said, or like it not being about Abby at all, but not really, because it is about Abby and how she robbed her of that opportunity that first of all, how hard is that?
Yeah.
How hard is it to admit? Because another thing I said was Ellie will die before forgiving somebody for a wrong that was committed upon her. She'll die.
No, really, nope.
Look at Seth.
No.
Look at that whole situation, for goodness sake. And he put his heart hat in his hand. He just did the thing with the sandwich. He's doing his best. And she's like, F you, F sandwiches.
Yeah. Like, I don't believe this at all.
I don't even eat steak anymore because of my interaction with you. Excuse me.
To be fair, she can tell. I think she's smart about being able to tell if something is genuine or not, because that apology was something that
Joel
Tommy's
did the
wife,
same thing, by the way.
Maria made him do. So she could tell that it wasn't genuine. But I think she came around because Seth ultimately stood up for, getting justice for Joel and helping them escape and everything, like, and they do in the series. It was a little different in the game, but, he kind of stepped up and she saw the real character behind him and the fact that people are capable of making mistakes, you know what I mean? And maybe he was drunk. Not that it excuses it, but adds a little more information to the interaction that they had.
Well, and we know more now.
Yeah.
Too, because before the whole thing with the, what he said in the church, which I don't know that I can say publicly. That's fine. That was before Joel died.
Yes.
And now Seth is 3 months later. And it's like after their conversation on the porch. And then after Joel was taken away from her. So I think she was a little bit more receptive after that.
Of course.
Like whether you believe whether you believe Seth was genuine or not, and I can easily see a situation. How many times have any one of you, because I can easily see either of you, Bridget and Karina, I can easily see one of you stepping in and getting two people to get together that otherwise would have died not forgiving each other, and just saying, hey, I know you want to forgive each other. I know you want to make up, but both of you are too stubborn.
No. I would never do that.
You have, haven't
I
you?
wouldn't do that. No, I haven't. But here's what I will admit.
Okay.
Here's what I will admit to doing.
Because I have.
I will showcase to people how meaningful it was to me to swallow my pride and reconcile with my own father to try to
persuade people to.
This whole episode is just going to be a slew of my daddy issues coming out. But anyway,
maybe
it's okay.
Sorry,
maybe not. We don't know,
Bridget.
Okay. We don't know. Until it happens.
It's gonna happen, I can tell. But I have friends who are like they don't talk to their father. I'm not even gonna name names, but someone that I know and love got married this last year. You know who it is.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I had said, look, she didn't want to invite her dad to the wedding. And I said, look, I understand. I've been where you're at, but I'm telling you right now, you should, because you're going to regret it if you don't. I understand you're mad. You're allowed to be mad.
Is she
You can
big
totally be
mad though? Is that the right
She is,
usage?
yeah. Whole
Okay.
life mad, Dave. Um
Wow,
anyway,
that's big.
she did invite him.
Ah.
So like I would never stick two people in a room and be like, "Look." I would never do that. But I will give you wholeheartedly. Wow. Um
Oh, it happened.
wholeheartedly.
Okay.
So now
It
we do
already
know.
started. It will give you wholeheartedly. I will give you wholeheartedly 100% my opinion on exactly what I feel like the mistakes are that you could be making. Not unsolicited. I tried to wait until
You ask.
you ask.
Mhm.
But I know everything that I went through and all of the stuff that happened and now my dad is gone have led me to be extremely thankful for that. And so I was able to kind of play that other side for her and just say like, "Hey, it's no big deal because it's still your day if you invite him. But if you don't and then something were to happen later, I feel like you might regret it. So it's just an invitation.
Mm.
It costs you change.
And it's
You
more
should
about
just
you
try it.
too.
Just try it and see." And she did, and I'm really proud of her for it. And I know that it didn't fix everything for them. It hasn't fixed their relationship. He hasn't apologized or anything like that, but that's a really big step. And now she has those photos and she has those memories. And so even if it goes 100%
South.
the opposite direction now, she at least still has those memories to say like, for this day, he was there for me. So like I'm a firm believer in like I would do that. But I know, Dave, what you're saying, never in a million years. That feels so awkward. I would never do
That
that.
sounds like a Karina move, though. No, like
I don't know. I
get
don't
I
two
think
don't think
people
so.
to
Karina would
talk
do
to each other.
that.
I'm
Am I
way.
the only one?
I think so.
I'm
I feel like
definitely more on like I'll take somebody's side and be like, no,
Ooh.
yeah, you definitely. I feel like they're a jerk, and I get why you feel that way about them. I'm not
I will
gonna
tell.
try
No,
to
I.
convince you otherwise.
I will do
Like,
the same thing, but I'll say I get your feelings, but you were kind of a jerk also, and I told them the same thing, and but what I also know is that you both actually care about each other, and the reason why you're so mad at each other is because you both have feel. You wouldn't be mad if you didn't care about them, and
I
sometimes
mean, definitely there's something to be said for being in a position where you can see both sides. I guess I'm thankful that I've not really been in that situation where I see two people that I care deeply about who
yes,
also care deeply about each other that are like falling apart, but I've never been the third wheel in that situation before. Like, you know what I mean? So it's
yeah,
been
it would be a
relationships are
lot.
complex. Like I,
It'd be
I
a
just
lot.
haven't been in a situation where I had the opportunity to be that person for anyone else. And it's definitely been more of like a no, yeah, what they did was messed up, and I
Yeah,
think you
they're
should feel that way
wrong.
about it. Yeah,
they're wrong, and I'm on
that
your
makes sense.
side. Well, I guess going
Exactly.
back to the
Love
point,
me.
going back to the
That's
point,
why I do that.
there's a wisdom of crowds when it comes to the idea of getting two people together in a situation where it's all about survival, right? Right. You have to not
Hmm.
forget that it's not here and now. It's further down the line where there's mushroom monsters, and if you don't have that cohesion, and Tommy and Maria Miller both say that, or both they show the crowd. Tommy's going through the crowd and telling the kid, "No, you don't run to the forest. You go to the basement with
Hmm.
your elderly and the women and etc." And
Right.
so it's the idea of cohesion, like repetition. First of all, you repeat the things so that people know what's up, and if things get into a panic situation, the repetition helps them remember in a panic situation. And but
Hmm.
it's the idea of repetition, and we have is each other. And Gail even shows it in her therapy session with Joel at the beginning of the season. It's the idea of, yeah, well, I don't like you much. In fact, I
Yeah,
probably hate you.
and
For
especially the way she found out, like, oh my gosh, that is such a. I wrote in my notes like, well, I didn't expect to cry over a character that only appears in text and conversation in a game, and that one scene or that one set of scenes that Eugene gets is so moving and so like difficult to watch because Joel isn't wrong for what he did trying to
oh,
protect the community because all it takes is one infected to get in and wreck a whole community,
whole
as we saw
community.
with Ish, and as you see with the the one community in the second game, I can't think, Hillcrest, same kind of thing, wrecks a whole group of survivors.
Which I think we're going to
I
see in the next episode, if I'm not mistaken.
So it would have happened on Ellie's way to the hospital.
Okay.
So we did skip over it. Again, it's mostly something that happens in game when you're traversing this long expanse of like just broken down houses and things like that. And it's a lot of environmental storytelling and notes and things like that, where you basically get a story similar to what you see with Ish in the sewers, building this whole community, and then it falls apart because somebody left the door open. And that's all it takes. So to Joel's credit, I understand why he made the decision he made. And I understand completely why he lied to Gale about it. And I don't think that Ellie was right to do what she did in her anger. But I also understand why she did that. Because she realized in that moment, he is capable of lying to my face and being very convincing when he does it. And so all of those fears that she's had
and the
about him
self-doubt
lying to her, about was he lying to me about this? Like, I think she was trying to gaslight herself into believing that he would never do that. And in that moment, she realized he would, and he probably did. And so her anger about that is all coming out, and she's like, nope, actually this is what happened, and it's Joel's fault, because she wanted to hurt him because she felt hurt. And that's a very childish thing to do, but she was 17. Like, you know what I mean? Who makes the best decisions at 17?
Bridget would actually have something to say about that too when she comes back. It's the idea of, when your parents make it so that you have to be an adult before you're ready to be an adult. Like, even though Joel makes a concerted effort on her birthdays to kind of make her feel like she's still a kid and like, don't hurry up to be an adult. You haven't had much of a childhood already. Let me just get as much of that in as possible before you go out on patrols and stop becoming my baby girl, even though you'll always be my baby girl. You can see in Ellie throughout this episode, and I don't know if you guys registered it, the idea of in a way, how dare I have these thoughts?
Right.
For someone who saves me.
Exactly. He protects me, he saves me, he's like my dad.
When everybody else is gone.
Yeah, and why would I think anything bad of
Or how could I?
Yeah, exactly.
But and yet she still pursues because she's Ellie, It's like the two warring sides of you.
She has these questions that she's got all written out that she wants to confront him with, and she just can't find the right time or place to do it. And she's scared to do it because she is worried that he's either going to lie to her again or that he's not going to lie to her again. And he's going to tell her exactly what she's been fearing was the truth the whole time. And like I said, I feel like in that moment when she saw him promise her that he would take Eugene back and then didn't do it.
It's like all that pussyfooting and
all of that just disappeared, and she's like, wow, he really did just lie to my face. And he's lying to Gale right to her face, and he's convincing. And of course I would believe it. And so I think, like I said, in that moment, I think all of that shattered for her, and she just lashed out at him because she was upset.
She was seeing red.
She made a horrible choice in telling Gale the truth. I don't think that was the right move at all.
Well, it's the way she told the truth too. It wasn't even right, too.
Yeah,
she didn't see him shoot him in the head
more than she hurt Joel, which is not fair.
Yeah, he was trying to ease the. It's like both sides aren't right. It's like even though you told the truth, it's still not. But isn't that the point? The whole
situation was messy. And that speaks to the larger narrative as well. How many people? Who are you actually punishing with your actions? Are you punishing Abby? Are you punishing her friends? Are you punishing yourself? Are you punishing your friends and not hers? Like, who's actually suffering in this mission? It's not Abby.
What's the price?
Exactly. What is the price?
What's the price of the truth? What's the price of violence? We
missed that in our thing, the price of the truth.
That's why I looped back around. Listen, we had to move on because we had big feelings, right, everybody? We had big feelings. Yeah, and to Francisco's point, I just saw that was cool. He's a good actor. Joe Pantoliano. Do you know who Joel Pantoliano is? Let's go backwards in time as opposed to right to the... Because Bridget... No, that's Dalton. That's, what's his name?
Oh, sorry.
Bridget.
Tony Dalton.
That's Tony Dalton.
I wrote down Tony Dalton.
Talking about Eugene. Yeah. Eugene, Joe Pantoliano. Okay.
Yeah.
If you go, the two most recognizable roles, one more recently is in The Matrix. He was Cypher in The Matrix.
That's the first thing I always think of because it's the first thing I recognize him from.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not the first thing I think of.
That's not what I remind of. That's not what he makes me think of.
He was one of the Fratelli brothers in The Goonies. That's the first thing I think of.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Yep.
But I didn't wanted to do the first thing first because, like, okay, for the young kids, I mean, young kids. Some of these kids weren't even born when the Matrix came out, too. So,
Listen.
how old do
Listen.
you feel now?
You're like, shh, just stop talking about it. We're not gonna talk about that.
So, yeah, okay. And he had a hairpiece. Sorry. If you know, you know. It's fine. And I gotta say, actually, too, as he was a very good-looking younger man in the Goonies, but I gotta say he's aged quite well. IMHO.
Oh yeah, I
Like
think
a
so.
different face.
He's still incredibly recognizable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What a career too. He had another. Okay, well, we won't get into
Yeah.
him. He was in
No, I was-
Memento also, by the way. For those
Yes,
who
I was
watched that.
excited to see
It's
him.
such a good movie.
He's so
He
great.
He is a bit of a that guy. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah, yeah.
recognize
Excuse
him
me.
from things.
Oh,
but
that guy,
it
yeah.
takes a minute to try to figure out like what he was in. Captain Howard in Bad Boys, says Francisco. So
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh,
So
Francisco.
he's a bit of a that guy,
Francisco, I love
but it
that.
like the best possible that guy.
Yeah.
I hate that. That's I relent, and I have to say, yeah, he is because I know him
Just a bit.
and we'll go Joe Pantoliano on the screen and know his name because that guy is
No,
defined by not
most
knowing
people
his
don't.
name.
Obviously, I didn't know his name.
I
at all.
will
I'm gonna
relent.
admit that I
recognize him.
didn't either, but I knew who you were talking about as soon as you said it because I was like the only other person I didn't know the name of. I looked up because I recognized his face.
Oh, I didn't look up anybody.
was
I was like, hey, you're that guy who played that other guy.
Tiny Easter egg though, because I didn't want to forget about it. Catherine O'Hara is wearing a Canadian maple leaf earring too. You thought it was a
That's not
marijuana.
the thing. That's not the thing.
Oh, I
Not
know.
the Easter
Well,
egg. I was
listen,
so
Bridget,
excited.
Bridget, I'm starting slow. Like I said with Joe Pantoliano in The Matrix, the Canadian maple leaf in her left ear, which is kind of because Catherine O'Hara is from Canada, but also she's reading a copy of, just say it, Bridget,
Earth Abides.
by
I don't remember. 'cause
George
it's been
R.
a
Stewart.
while.
It was in big
Thank
in the
you.
front.
I did
I
notice
got-
the Earth Abides, yeah.
I got so excited when
I
I
did
saw
too.
it, and I laughed out loud because I was like, "How fitting."
Do you know who I thought of first, Bridget?
Who?
You.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's because you and I went hard on.
You
the
and I
Earth
had a
Abides.
moment talking about Earth Abides
discussion.
on this podcast. But just for those who don't know,
Everyone else left us. Everyone else said this is boring.
to catch
And you and I were like, no, it's really cool, actually.
And actually, let's talk about how cool it is. First of all, let's say the obvious thing, which is, in case you didn't know, we did cover the miniseries Earth Abides on MGM Plus, or MGM, we should say technically. It was a 6-episode run. It is kind of post-apocalyptic. There is an outbreak, and there are survivors. It's a different kind of tale. It's more on the uplifting side, though there are insane tragedies and even a Negan-like character in that series. I will say, love it for us, and also how meta, because in this world there is a Earth Abides book by George R. Stewart, and it is also a post-apocalyptic time, and I hope Gail learned something from that book a little about forgiveness.
She obviously did because she's willing to talk to Joel about, his therapy. I want to say I did love that scene too, where she was like, no, moths mean death. And then she's like, why? Because she feels like she got baited in. Now she's curious. And he just gets up and walks away. And she's like, what the freak? Now I'm interested and now you don't want to talk.
Yeah, I do love that.
How soon afterwards did that happen? Did the death of her husband happen, Eugene? When she tells it was the 2-year jump and then it happens, or was it in that same time frame?
It was, I think, around the same
Why am I
time
asking?
frame because she turned 18 or 17. I can't remember now.
17.
From the
Okay.
She turned 17 when he finally let her do patrols, and that was her first patrol. So-
No. Okay. So she asks about the moths in her just after her 17th birthday. 2 years later,
2 years later.
the
Okay.
death happens. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I
2 years.
should have just said it. I feel bad.
I couldn't remember either because in the game it's set up very differently. And I do, before we move on from the last scene, I do want to mention the differences from the game and my thoughts on them.
Oh,
if we're done
the
with-
patio scene, basically the last scene in the
Yes,
show.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, let me think for a second. Well, let's circle back to moths after we talk about the patio scene, and we should go to the chat because
Okay.
we missed a
What do
lot.
you mean patio scene?
The last
The porch.
scene, the porch.
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 Okay.
Sure.
That's not a patio.
Well, let's go to the chat first then, now that we have this like
Okay.
stopping point, Bridget, and then we can go
Okay.
back to the porch scene and then go back
Porch
to Moss.
patio.
All right.
What a great episode so far.
Yes.
So Francisco did say to Skylar, "Love your matches." Francisco's a big wrestling fan.
She posted some of them in the Discord. For those of you who want to join the Discord, you can check them out.
I don't eat steak anymore. I understood that reference. Said Francisco. Can I say it's very cool that Lalo Salamanca played Joel's dad?
Let's comment on that.
Yeah,
Oh!
I was excited. Because he was also in Daredevil.
Yes, that's right.
Reborn,
As one of
very
the
briefly,
oligarchs
so
of New York City.
I've been seeing him a lot lately, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
hey,
I'm pretty sure he plays the swordsman, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So and he
The
has a
vigilante.
bigger part. He has a bigger part in Hawkeye, actually, in the Hawkeye miniseries. So
Did I like
oh.
mind erase him, or was he not like technically cast for that? I just don't remember.
is he? I'm pretty sure he's the same character, isn't he? Not the same
Maybe
actor.
he is. You might be right. You might be right.
Okay.
Oh, isn't he the girl's dad?
Her mom's boyfriend.
Thank you.
She
Thank
doesn't
you.
like him, but
Oh, okay, I remember now.
Kate
Yeah.
Bishop. Yeah, Kate Bishop doesn't like him. He's dating her mom, and he's actually a good guy. Like he's definitely portrayed as like somebody that
Douchey.
Kate is very suspicious of through the whole thing, but he's a good guy.
In
And
a way,
he
she's
is
right
a
to suspect
vigilante.
him.
Like,
Because he is
Yeah.
sneaky, technically.
yeah. But I loved
Um,
his cameo in Daredevil Born Again. I was very excited
It's great.
because I have watched Hawkeye a lot because David loves Hawkeye. Like it is his favorite miniseries. He loves that character. So like he has watched it so many times.
And who
Well,
doesn't like a
that's-
Christmas
That's
series?
like hailed as like
Yeah.
one of the best Hawkeye storylines.
It's
is
so
that-
good though. Yeah.
Not
like,
the show,
I've-
but the original comic book that it's based on
Mhm.
is like, yeah, that's like the Hawkeye.
I could go on a
story
tangent
that's-
just about this Marvel thing, so I'm gonna get off topic if we keep talking
Okay.
about it.
Well-
But I was excited
gonna
to
move
see
on.
him.
We're gonna move
Let
on.
me
We're
just
gonna
mention
move on.
one thing. Another obvious thing that we did, because we did at Earth Abides, but we also covered the last season of Better Call Saul, Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
In case you're interested in watching that. And I have to say, that was a seminal moment for the podcast because it's when I dropped a prank on Bridget that I didn't want her on the podcast anymore, even without her money, because I
Mm-hmm.
said you can become a full host. So that was very fun to do.
That was when I officially was inducted
Yeah. And
as
also,
co-host.
what an emotional series, too. We loved
It was good.
covering it.
Also, the other big deal about that is that is the first time that this podcast covered something outside of The Walking Dead.
Technically true, yeah. I think so. Yeah. What a big discussion.
That's when you finally relented, Dave, and you were like, fine,
Well,
we try other things.
context is important too because you have to consider the fact that we had just gotten off so much Walking Dead stuff. We just finished
Yes.
Tales. We did The Rest of the World Beyond, I think it was that year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Maybe not. Okay, I don't know.
I believe
Fear still going on. The Walking Dead was still going on. I think it just finished, right? 2020. Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah,
Or it
right.
was on the verge of finishing. Whoa, so we weren't even done with it. So context matters, Bridget,
Mm-hmm.
because it still was a lot of stuff to do, and we front loaded a lot of those episodes, a
Well,
couple of those
and
episodes
we-
up front with the audience.
At the time,
supporters.
we didn't know either. Like, where do you go with a podcast that covers a show that's ending?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So that was like a big discussion. Like, where do you go? What's considered like us? Like, what's in our vein? And so we tried a thing just to see. And it just so happened to also be on AMC. So it kind of looks a little bit like we just cover AMC shows, but we do cover
That's kind of
it.
true, actually. And just one more thing about
Stuff.
that. I mean, considering the volume of shows that we were pumping out, that was the hardest part, is can we do it? And
Yeah.
and we covered a live stream and a follow-up breakdown every week. And we
Which
managed
was
it.
insane.
We
And we'll
managed
never
it.
do that again. We will never do that again.
Yeah, we were trying to do that with the House of the Dragon, but it didn't
No.
work out. No.
Let's just,
Nobody showed up to.
It's unnecessary.
So thanks everybody. You're the one
this-
at fault.
Yeah, it's your fault. You weren't here,
Yeah.
and you guys didn't even know we were doing it or who we were at the time. But that's your
Wow.
fault.
Okay. You made it worse. It's good. I love it.
Okay, so Neo did say that that was cool that the guy who plays Lalo San
Tony Dalton is a good actor.
Tony Dalton. Let me just say Tony Dalton.
Yeah,
because it's
Tony
easier.
Dalton.
That he's a great actor, and he is.
Yes.
Yes, very much so. Francisco said O'Hara acted the hell out of that scene. I'm gonna say I never really cared for her or thought about her. But I think Joel needs a shrink. But after this hour, I think Joel needs a shrink. But after this episode, I think Joel lying to her about her husband added a layer of sadness to Joel lying to people in similar ways.
Oh, and the price, right? Who else are you going to hurt in your pursuit? That's the price.
Yeah.
He was in Portugal a few weeks ago with his wife. I think he was in Casais. Oh, cool. Tony Dalton? Cool.
I don't know. I don't know who that was in reference to.
Also for GTA fans, Joe voiced Luigi Gattarelli in Grand Theft Auto 3. Wow, what a callback. GTA 3 is taking me back.
GTA 3,
while,
wow.
That's my gaming heyday. Like the exit, right at the threshold of the exit, basically, where I couldn't call myself a gamer after that, essentially.
You're still a gamer.
I'm a gamer in
You're
here.
once a gamer, always a gamer.
Always a gamer.
But
Even though sometimes I'm like,
12
let
hours
me
a
play
day.
Candy Crush on my phone. I'm still
That's still
technically a
gaming.
gamer.
I'm too
That's
addicted.
gaming.
I can't play those games.
cares?
you know that I can't play those games.
They frustrate
is-
me because I have to watch an ad every 3 seconds. I'm like, oh, gosh, can
Okay.
I just pay $60 and
Can I just
have
admit
this game?
something? Can I just admit something? That zombie game where not zombie, I guess that zombie game where you're a character shooting things and barrels for more artillery and you're moving through the thing. Like it's a
Talking about
vertical.
House of the Dead?
No, it's like a vertical mobile game. The ads that come up for it, I guess it's sometimes it's zombies, sometimes it's Vikings.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
It's
okay,
I
okay.
just get addicted to watching the ads of the whatever who it is playing it. You don't know who it is half the time, but
I
okay.
don't because they never play it good, and it's like one of those reverse psychology things. And I'm like,
yeah, it makes
stop.
me so
Yeah.
mad.
I'm
And then
awesome.
The thing is, the
It just-
game
that's
that
the
you click on
problem.
is not going to be that game.
No, it's not. It never is.
Which is what they say in the ads too. Oh, that game, that's not the game.
It's never
and
the
it
game.
isn't the
yeah,
game.
like, and then
But
you
this is the
download it,
real
it's Still
game.
not the game.
Anywho, okay. Oh, Joe Pantoliano
Joe
was in
was in
Portugal. Okay,
Portugal.
cool. I love that for him and us, actually. I want him to have a good life because he was great in Goonies.
Have a good life.
He's such a nice guy too in interviews, like because he
Thanks for
played
him.
such a crappy character for tellies.
I feel like he usually plays mean people. I mean, maybe his character in Bad Boys wasn't like that, but you know, he was like a good guy.
He's
though.
technically
you know
a good guy.
Yeah, technically.
All right, let's go to the porch scene, the patio scene, whatever you want to call it.
Porch. It's a porch.
It's a porch, I guess.
Patio is different.
Coffee on the porch at night on New Year's Eve.
That's definitely an old man thing to do. Sure. Waiting up for his baby girl in a way, right?
Right. And the whole back and forth of, is she going to stop? Isn't she? Like, she walks past him several times and then finally comes back. I loved all of that.
Before you get into that, the heater,
fresh in her mind.
the space heater being on the porch was something that was caught by viewers during the original scene.
Mm-hmm.
So in the first episode, right, where we see like Joel waiting up for Ellie and she walks past him, viewers caught that there was a space heater out there on the porch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so they had written like he's waiting for her. Like these are obviously people who just watched the show, they don't play the game, so they didn't know what was going to happen, but they were like, he's clearly waiting for her. Like you don't put a space heater out on a porch and just like he's this is intentional.
He's not being a moody teenager and be like, I don't care, it's cold, I'm not even wear a jacket. My anyway, sorry, channeled something there.
It's more it's very telling that he would choose to on January 1st, December 31st, January 1st, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's happening.
It's already happened,
midnight.
probably.
I know. Yeah, and you know, it's the middle of the night and it's cold as crap out there. Like, you're not gonna sit on the porch to play your guitar. Like, he's clearly doing that as an invitation. Like, I'm more accessible if she can see me. I'm right here. You shouldn't have to go into the house. There's no barricade. Like, sometimes that like just mental barricade of a closed door is enough to stop you. You know what I mean?
So if he's resistance.
if you're just on the porch, then she can just walk up and talk to you. Like, obviously he's waiting for her.
Giving
and
her
also,
the opportunity.
If you played the game, you would know. Like, so.
You're right. You have to interact with him in the game.
Yeah.
You have to punch Nora.
Unskippable cutscene.
Exactly. No, but I want to say something else. You may have said, okay, you can explain away the space heater, but there was a gaffe in this episode. I scrolling on social media as I was posting clips for the show that I do regularly during work, which makes me feel bad all the time, I caught something. And that was, there was a guy in the background as Ellie and Joel were heading towards the dinosaur. He's in the trees, and some would speculate that it kind of looks like Craig Mazin in the foliage.
He's just like there.
He's in the foliage
Just
with his little
watching it.
safari hat. I mean, it's you can't make it out enough to know who it is, but you can make it out enough to know that there is a person there. It's not an infected. It is a person from the crew.
Some guy. Standing
Probably
there.
Craig Mazin.
That's funny.
So that was you'll catch it in the left side of the frame, and if I do post this for Spotify video, I will try to put a grab of that person, whomever it is. I will have better resolution compared to most, so maybe I can make it out and point it out and blow it up and say Craig Mazin right there. He's right there. Which I'm doing now if you're watching this on Spotify. There you go. Interesting, huh?
Oh yeah, I missed that.
I missed it. I didn't see it.
It was
at
the
the top of the
Starbucks
T-Rex.
cup in House of the
It's the
Dragon's
Starbucks
final
cup.
episode.
That's
Oh my
what
gosh.
Francisco just said. The Starbucks moment of The Last of Us.
Anyway,
Okay.
I wish I could show it now, but I can't. Gonna have to do it later.
Oh, well.
What are we doing now? We are doing the patio scene, more of it, right? You said differences?
Yes. So
Okay.
I have things to say about it. So the patio scene, as with a lot of the major scenes in the series, is following the game pretty spot on, except right in the middle, they jam in the entire storyline of a previous flashback. So they put two major story points in the game into the same scene. And I kind of wish they wouldn't have done that because they're both so poignant, and I really loved. It's a difficult scene to watch, the one that they put in the middle where Joel finally confesses to her what happened. Does not happen at the porch. She's known for several years by that point in game. So in game, she starts to get suspicious and she runs away. And she runs all the way to Salt Lake, and she steals a horse. She goes there. She goes back to the hospital. She's searching around for stuff, and she finds a recording. She finds an audio recording that basically recounts what happened from the Firefly's point of view. And it spells out everything that Joel did and the fact that there's no cure because of him and all that stuff. And she, he finally tracks her down. He figures out where she's at. He comes riding up, the next morning as she's sitting out there just contemplating and listening to this recording over and over again. And she tells him, "This is your last chance. Tell me the truth, whatever it is. If you tell me the truth, I will go back with you. Whatever it is, I don't care. I will go back with you. But if you lie to me again, we're done for good." So those things happen, of course, in this scene.
Just different places.
Just a different place.
Different
and she's
setting.
a little bit younger when it's happening. I think she's 17 when this is happening.
First game or
and of
second
course-
game? Second game, right?
Second game,
Okay,
yeah,
just
second
checking.
game. So, as I described before, at the end of each day, you usually get a flashback to an earlier time. So, the birthday gift at the museum is one flashback. Her running away to Salt Lake is another flashback. And then the scene on the porch actually occurs at the very end of the game. It is almost the very last scene that you see in the game after the end
Oh.
of everything else. That is
kinda
the
makes
very
sense.
last scene. Yeah, so you have to wait the entire game to see her say that the best line in the game, which is "I want to try." And so that's very poignant and moving that is the last thing that you see her interaction at the end. All of this strife.
Can I
So
just
they-
say one thing?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, one thing.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm kind of impressed with Neil Druckmann for the game because do you know how in the beginning of The Walking Dead, anybody could go? It could be anybody. And then eventually one of the people we didn't want to go most ends up going in season 7, episode 1, technically the end of season 6. That idea that you can go there, there's a cruelty in the writing of saying, I know I'm doing this to you, but trust me, it's worth it. And then when you, after all the events, right, you're saying this is after all the events happen.
Yeah, after the epilogue and everything. So
It's the final keystone to understand basically everything
Yes.
you've done in both games thus far.
yeah,
And it's like,
It's
oh,
not- yeah.
we're rewarding
not-
you at this point.
Yeah, it's not the literal last scene of the game,
Okay,
but
okay.
it's one of the last things. It's part of, you're no longer playing the game at that point. You're just watching the end of the
Okay.
game at
Okay.
that point. So that's part of it. So very, very important scene that we've witnessed much earlier in the story. Still a good point in the story to reveal it, because we've yet to experience day 3, which a lot of stuff happens in day 3, and there's going to be a lot to process. I'm just saying. So it wasn't bad to put it there. I just wish they would have given us a separate reveal scene and not jammed them together, because Ashley Johnson's performance in the game as Ellie during that scene is so moving and so heart-wrenching, because Ellie finding out what Joel did when he admits it to her, it's a lot less tearful too. He says it very matter-of-factly, like, with this expectation, you can tell, like, he knows that, he's safe in the fact that he knows that once he tells her the truth, she's going to go back to Jackson with him, but he knows that their relationship is changing after this point. In this, of course, I loved how much more emotional Pedro Pascal is in revealing that to her, because I just think it works better in the series for him to be that emotional. But in game, it's Ellie who's emotional in that scene after he admits to her that there were no raiders, there are no other immune people, and yeah, he killed Marlene, he killed everybody to get her out of there. She has a nervous breakdown, like she's clutching her chest, she's freaking out at this information, and he tries to comfort her and she pushes him away, like, don't touch me, and like he's like, I'll go back with you, but we're done, like, now, I will go back with you, and also we're done. Like, so and they have about 2 years of that dynamic before this
The
incident.
events.
Yeah, before this incident where he pushes Seth and she doesn't want to, deal with it. And then she comes, and you wait till the very end of the game to see that she, says, I don't think I ever can, but I want to try. And that's so telling. And in game, I will say Joel at that moment becomes very emotional, and you can tell it's a very reserved performance, but he's emotional about it, and he's like, okay, all right, I'll take that. And, he's got tears in his eyes and everything, and they just, to go their separate ways, and like in their both of them very reserved emotional states, where they're not trying to be over dramatic about any of this, because they're just not that way with each other. But it means so much to both of them that she's willing to try, even though she's as mad as she is at him. And also, she's had more time to process it. She's had about 2 years, where in the series, this kind of all happens at the same moment. And I feel like it took something away from it a little bit to
Well,
have
for
it all happen
us.
at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I don't know about for y'all. I feel like it's probably very impactful anyway, but having seen the original version of the events in the game, I prefer that version of it. But the emotional story beats of that moment on the porch are still there. It was still very moving. I think it was still impactful. I feel like I wish y'all could have seen the other scene that they kind of jammed in the middle of it.
I'm actually okay with what I got, because
Okay,
if you think,
good. I'm glad.
because it allows me to be a little bit more clear-headed of what they were trying to do with the show. To your point, I will say there is a danger in doing what they did, because putting it all in the same episode doesn't make, there's a chance that you may not feel the long arc of time had they not
Right.
included that scene from his childhood, which wasn't in the game, obviously, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
That is a new scene. We
See?
don't know anything about his upbringing or anything like that. So
Right.
yeah, that is
And
new.
what you start off the episode with that scene, so now you have
Yes.
an anchor to the past, so that when you come to the not present, you can
Right.
feel a little bit longer of an arc, that this is part of a longer story, an older story, that we can now recontextualize the present with, which again, to going to your point about including that scene at the end of the game, has a little bit more meaning even for the game players. It adds extra meaning that you wouldn't otherwise have gotten. An extra feeling that
loved
this is a longer than just this game. This was going back further.
I appreciated that scene and that addition to that dynamic, that he's, striving to be a little bit better, and then saying the same thing to her, like, I hope you're just a little bit better than I, obviously I failed you in some way, but I hope that I did the best I could.
Was
I
that
hope you do
line
just
in
a
the
little bit
game?
better. No.
Him saying that to her?
Mm-mm. No,
Okay.
all of that whole interaction with his father.
I really liked that.
Yeah, and I hope you do a little bit better. That's all in the series only. So, but I love it. I love the addition of it. It's great.
And we talked about that too before the scene ever came about, in a sense, didn't we? Didn't we talk about fathers
Well,
doing
I mean,
generational trauma?
I've talked before. I don't know if it was during this series
I think
or
it was
not,
the series.
but about I always talk about my grandmother and how my
Yes.
grandmother, yeah, the whole thing about how she went to college and she saw people hug and
Yeah.
she thought that was so nice that families hugged, so she tried to hug her mom and her mom's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. What are you,
Because
idiot?
they weren't physical, and so then she said that she was very affectionate with my mother, but my mother was like,
Oh,
"No,
she's
she was
talking about.
not." And my mom was affectionate with me, but I am very affectionate. So even what my mom gave me was like, to me, it wasn't a lot.
It wasn't enough
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
needy
And so
Bridget.
now, like, I am very,
Overly
like,
affectionate.
and probably it will be a detriment. Like, it might be a detriment to my own children. They might be like, whoa, I don't. Now I've gotten way too much in my
Please
life.
They should be
stop.
so lucky. Ungrateful.
But-
Ungrateful already. They're not even here. And I'm already like
But-
chiding them. I hope I live long enough too.
Yeah, that is what that reminded me of. And so, like, and also growing up with, God rest his soul, wherever he ended up, I have no idea. But my father was abusive to my mother,
Mhm.
and that was something I grew up with. And then I subsequently ended up in a domestic violence situation in my 20s. And so, like, that scene, I
The
didn't cry.
beginning,
I didn't
yeah.
cry at all while watching this episode.
Mhm.
But that scene was so impactful. And so to add that in, even though you could, like, to Francisco's point, he hasn't said this in the chat, but in previous episodes he said, like, they're just like cramming all this extra stuff. This is the extra stuff that's worth the time.
It is.
This
Just
tells a
like the
bigger
episodes.
picture. It like
Yeah.
paints this large picture that we just didn't have before.
I appreciate all of that extra world building and storytelling and us getting a moment to understand who Joel is before the fall and after. And, you know, him getting an opportunity and sort of the second chance with Ellie that he didn't ever get with Sarah, where he felt like it's interesting to think about. I feel like he, you know, let me stop for a second so I can formulate my thoughts.
Because there's a lot of stuff that you can draw from,
I'm trying
right?
to like create a context here. So Joel failed Sarah in a basic survival situation, and he vowed to not do that with Ellie, which I think he successfully managed to keep Ellie safe in a basic survival way. But he never had the chance or the opportunity to help her and raise her as a child and as his own in a just a normal domestic kind of way. So he's obviously trying to do his best and maybe falling short a little bit, at least according to Ellie. And so he just relies on what his father said to him, which is, you know, I'm doing the best I know how to do. And if you might not think that that's good enough, but maybe you'll do a little bit better than I did, you know. And he says the same thing to her, like, you know, you don't understand the way I love you, and maybe you will one day once you have your own, and maybe you'll understand another way. But, like, you know, I did this and I'm not sorry about it. You know, I hope that you understand why in the future, you know.
And it's like I don't even expect you to understand now, but the fact
Right.
that you're willing to like learn or listen or find that out for yourself, just stick
Right.
around long enough to find out, to understand where I came from. And I think this is why I went back to that line, I'm going to be a dad. That's how you know. That's how you
Yeah.
know, which is interesting because, well, what do you become? What are you fighting for now, Ellie?
Mm-hmm.
Are you fighting for the thing that you can't let go, the thing that you never had, the past, essentially? Are you fighting for your baby boy or girl? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I love how a line that is controversial, that when it was said, people said things about it on the
so
internet.
dumb. Like,
Now,
it's
now
not.
you know.
It has
I
meaning.
know you wanted to erase that from your brain, Francisco, but I listen. I know it sounds like it's corny, and it's probably still corny to you, but I think that having this arc, this scenes that weren't in the game, gives you so much more context to that line, because
It is corny.
it is,
but like in a
but
good
it's still
way.
Ellie. Yeah.
Yeah.
the character
it's
Ellie.
good.
She's a kid that has, this underlying humor to her that you don't get to see a lot. In in the first game, she's firing off all these dumb jokes at Joel from this joke book, and it's like her favorite thing. And even in the beginning of this game, you get a moment where Joel attempts to recite a silly joke to her and he messes it up really badly. And then, and then another part of it where he plays the song that we hear him play.
Future
That's
Days.
part of the very beginning scenes, where he comes to visit her. And another small but also large change, Ellie lives in the garage from the start of the game. Like, that's just where she ended up. Like, she was never in the house, to my knowledge. She's just living in the garage since she was like 14 years old. So the fact that she chose to move out of the house with Joel and into the garage at that point hurt me a little bit in my heart. I was like, oh, that makes it worse. Like,
Yeah.
instead of her just like deciding that she's gonna live in the garage like right as soon as they get there. But no, she chose to leave. And
but then doesn't that add more flavor to at the end of the episode, you get that Joel flashback, happy birthday kiddo, she's in her room. That's
before
how it
everything
happened.
Before everything went crazy.
It's her desiring to go back, because I think that's where it comes from too, like
remembering back to a time when before everything kind of fell apart, before things got difficult between the two of them, when things were just good between the two of them. Like,
it could have been this way always. And I mean, Joel did what he did, but I wanted a chance at forgiving him. And wouldn't it be better if I didn't know it all? I mean, we all think that way too. I know Bridget's gonna say, I want to know the truth. Oh no, that's a Rachel thing. I want the truth at all costs.
It's something Rachel and I share.
And I'm like, well, but don't we all wish because and if you're lucky if you live a life where you wanted to know the truth all the time, because I think there's some of us who would have rather not known some things, to have that in there to haunt your days. In bad moments you think of these things and it just makes you upset. And I want that for everybody. I want everybody to seek the truth while they still have it in their head to not want to know the truth.
Seek the truth before you regret it.
But jumping off of that is a good point. But before we get to that, and we have to go back to moths, I know that. I wanted to just mention this before we go to the chat. This also contextualizes a whole other part of Joel that we don't often talk about. It's something that I feel very deeply, unfortunately. It's that most people see themselves as the hero of their own story. And oh man, why me? And it's like some people, Joel knows who he is, and it's never more clear than when you see that past scene with him and Tommy. I'll be the villain. I'm willing to be the villain. I have no illusions that I'm a dirtbag. I committed violence upon that kid. And you had mentioned, Karina, I think it was something in the games. I'm not sure if it was said on the show, but something to the effect of Joel didn't have to kill all those people from the truck of supplies and stuff like that. There was something either like Tess was saying.
I think it was referring to the way he lived his life surviving all of those years.
Right.
Like, did he have to do those things to survive, or did he just choose to do those things because he was angry and hurt and decided that people weren't worth, giving the benefit of the doubt or trusting? Yeah, exactly.
But there was a specific example, though. There was something about a delivery truck, and was he always like this? And something to the effect of he did things that he didn't have to do, but he did them anyway.
I think it might have been referring to the trap, the trap where they, in the first season and in the first game, where they're like, are we going to stop and help that guy? And he's like, that guy ain't hurt. And then, he, like, I think I was talking about that. I believe, like,
maybe.
Basically him being on that luring side of that trap instead of the
I've been on the other side of that.
Yeah, did he have to do that? Was that necessary for survival, or was he just doing that because he could, because he doesn't care about anybody else? You know what I mean? Like, that was the point I think I was trying to make. It was like, did he make these choices truly out of survival?
Yeah, and then him admitting that I was on the other side of that. I was the one luring people. So that's kind of what I want to get to. Like, I did what I did. And sometimes it's about survival and sometimes like pre-survival, right? That idea that I got to get them
Right.
before they get me.
Right. I'll get you first, and then you won't be a threat. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Because everybody's a threat, essentially.
Right.
And that is the excuse, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
Bridget will say, 100%, don't be a crybaby. This is the world we live in, blah, blah, blah. Get them before they get you. Rachel will say, we'll go even harder in the paint with that. And I'm like a Carlisle, and I'll admit it. And I hope to God that I have Bridget's and Rachel's in my life to protect me. But I think I hope to God that I am a Carlisle for them and that I can help them on the other side of that. All this to say, I really want to go back to Joel. It's really cool to like in a show don't tell sort of way to see Joel's psychology because he is better than his dad.
Yeah.
Essentially, but he doesn't see that. You look throughout this episode, he's just hoping that what he's done is enough.
Right.
Right? He's always questioning his, like, is this good? Did you like this? And he's trying a little bit more every year, a year in the apocalypse.
Go a little more over the top. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, but to him, it's like, is it enough? Is it enough? Is it enough?
Is this enough? Yeah.
Right? Right?
And for her, it's the most magical thing she's ever experienced in her life. He's like, did I do okay? She's like, are you freaking kidding me?
And
like,
I mean, of course he's feeling that. So of course he's going to try again next year. Like, yeah, I'm going to go even harder in the paint. Let's
like,
make a bigger ordeal out of this.
How do I top dinosaurs and space travel? Like, you know?
Exactly. And, you know, and you don't, and isn't that the case that, dude, you don't have to do too much.
Yeah.
Just be you. You are enough. You are enough.
Yeah.
And so like the just be thing that Dina said, just be. Isn't that what we're all trying to do is just be? So, and isn't that supposed to tell Ellie a bigger story that this isn't this thing, this mission that you're on? Isn't that an elaborate distraction? Isn't living the most defiant thing you can do in a post-apocalyptic world?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so when you go back to Joel, who had no purpose, who had no mission, and it was all about survival, and I got to kill them before they kill me. It's easy to see how over the years before he met Ellie and gradually getting out of that, how he saw himself as the villain. He made no illusions about his I'm not the hero of my own story. I know what I am. I'm just existing. And I felt that. I felt that really hard. There's times where I feel like I'm the bad guy, especially with this podcast, asking things and that's learned behavior. Everybody, that's learned. By the way, you should learn to value yourself, people. Just a little lesson that I'm going to teach to you is that you are enough. I am enough. Yeah. Yeah, everybody. I am enough. Yeah, that's right. This is an affirmation podcast, everybody.
Just like your hat says, what a difference a Dave makes.
Yeah. That's what my hat says. Sharondy got that for me. So there you are.
No, I think it's important to your point, like having all those different types of people in your life are important. Whether we're talking about just our everyday lives or a post-apocalyptic kind of thing, you need someone who's willing to put the gas pedal to the floor and someone who's willing to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't be running these people over just because they're there.
Right.
You know,
hit the brakes, hit the emergency brake, deploy the parachute, please.
Right. Like, hold on. Like, but you can't be both of those. You can't be one extreme or the other all the time. You need the balance. And also, as you know, you were describing, we were describing Joel's, you know, thought process and then thinking about him going to therapy and stuff like that. Like, for so many years,
right? Joel going to therapy.
More,
we forget.
Yeah. 25 years or more making these decisions and having to live with them. And I think, you know, anyone doing that, especially the kind of decisions that Joel is making where he's hurting people, probably unnecessarily, probably unprovoked. In his mind, he's coping with that by saying, I had to do it. There was no choice there. It was survival. It's what I had to do. And when you start to feel that way for a long time, you stop even questioning your own decisions. Like, I did this for survival reasons. It was the right choice.
Right. You move past the rational.
When you start, but when you start to take a step back and say, maybe I should have let Eugene go to his wife, even though it was dangerous.
It's worth the risk.
Wasn't it worth the risk? Then he'll have to take another step back. Maybe I shouldn't have hurt that person. Maybe I shouldn't have saved Ellie. Maybe I shouldn't have done this or that. And how far back do you go and how much chaos do you have to answer for at that point? So I think it makes sense for him to, you know, have this very like, I did it, what I did was the right choice. I'm not going to apologize for it, you know? And like I said, I do admire that about his choice to save Ellie, but is that a healthy way of dealing with your actions? You know, always going for the difficult, this is the way it's got to be. It's a survival thing. It's the safety of the whole town. Like, did it have to be, Joel? Did it really have to be? Like, Ellie's trying to convince you that he had time. He wasn't really showing signs of infection yet. I think they probably could have made it back to Jackson, and they could have set it up in such a way that made it safe for the town. And the only person at risk would have possibly been Gail, but I'm sure she would have been willing to take that risk. It's her husband. It's the last conversation she's ever going to get to have with him.
Yeah.
I think it would have been worth it, but Joel won't even consider it because he's so used to just making that split-second decision. Like, this is going to get me killed if I don't do it this way. You know what I mean? Like, he won't even take the risk. So, and that's not his fault. Like, you know, he's lived for 30 or more years that way.
True. And habit, right? People are slow to change. I go to it again. Joel was changing. Just for everything that we just said. It's just because he doesn't acknowledge it doesn't mean it's happening. But I will say, you do see the signs at Fedra of the stages of infection. So he's well aware of them. Ellie brings a call back to the first episode as well, holding out her hand every single time, counting, doing the alphabet, whatever it is, with Marlene constantly. And you do see a flashback, I think, of I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. With the Riley thing, I can't remember if that was the case, but it's okay. But yeah, so he knows, and Ellie's calling back to that moment. So he knows that it was perfectly safe. But yeah, I do get it. I do get it. Let's go to the chat for a sec, because I think a lot of it's flown by. And then we'll go back to moths. Unless there's more to talk about with the...
No, I think I said everything I need to say about that. Yeah.
Okay. So Francisco said, seems like the show is trying to reshape the gameplay or not put it in order so that they don't have more seasons or they can add more scenes.
I agree.
But yeah, that moment in the porch scene it jumped in time. I feel the show is adding a lot that wasn't in the game. It can work for the advantage of the story, or it can't. But for this change on Joel telling the truth about the Fireflies, maybe it will help. He then apologizes to me because of everything that I went through, but I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I don't share these things for anyone to feel bad for me. That's not why. Please don't. Please do not.
Nah, he's just saying, I hated that for you.
Yeah. The reason I share it is because, one, if there are other people out there who are going through some stuff, then please feel free to reach out. Because I've been through it and I know how much it sucks, and like, I'm here if you need it. But also because I want people to know that they're like, you're not alone, and like, life is hard. And I made it through so many different things. Sometimes it's like, I don't know, I just take this as an opportunity to air my grievances about how sucky my life is.
It's very self-serving, Bridget. I think.
It is. I feel better afterwards.
Oh, good.
Anyway,
no skin off my nose.
It is
really.
just. It's just, I don't know. Don't ever apologize. It's fine. I'm the person I am today because of everything that I've been through, good and bad. So I'm thankful for it. I think it was more a reaction to saying the line than the line itself. It's corny, but it's toasted corny in reference to the
it's popcorn.
I'm going to be a dad.
Yeah.
There's
corn.
some truth in my family I will never know, but I am not too worried to know about them. And survival means doing everything without any regrets.
Well, sometimes in the moment you kind of have to not have regrets.
I think you can have regrets. I think it's okay to have regrets even in survival. I mean, I have regrets about my life, and like, we all do, right? Like, we all have.
Do you have survivor's guilt?
Oh, 100%.
I do not.
100%.
I relish in my survival. Ironically.
Well,
Carlisle.
I know, but well, to some degree though, Dave, like, I didn't have survivor's guilt about like
the abuse,
the drug use, or the alcoholism, or any of the other stuff that's gone on in my life. My survivor's guilt is the fact that I was that person, got out of it, you know, honestly, by the grace of God. It had nothing to do with me. Got out of it, ended up where I am, and then like died suddenly.
Oh, well.
And then was like, why am I here? Because I cannot tell you how many people told me stories of like the same thing happening to their neighbors. Like their neighbor, and they would die, and they died. Or I knew a woman at church. She said my neighbor had that happen to her, and she came back and she had no memory. She didn't
Oh
remember her
wow.
husband.
Ooh.
Oh wow. That'd be so hard.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I have a lot of survivor's guilt because I was granted, like, I have all my memories. I have the memories of my wedding the 3 weeks before. I I get to be here, and I don't know why, and I don't know why I'm here, and
I
that's a
do. This
conversation.
podcast. I
That's
told
a
you. I
conversation
told
between
you.
me and God. But
I
um
am the prophet, so I know.
well, thank you, Dave. I'm big mad about the fact that I don't know why I'm here. But anyway,
I
um
keep telling you. Maybe that's what she
this
mind erased, is I keep telling you. It's like a
maybe
post hoc thing.
maybe
I'm so
um
embarrassed.
anyway, so survivor's guilt is a real thing, and I think that that's applicable to the apocalypse as well. I mean, you have to kill the people around you in order to survive, even if it's like they're not them anymore.
Mm.
Technically,
Oh yeah. Okay.
it still exists, right? It's still there.
Mm.
I think
I
to a degree it has to be turned down though. At least in the
Well,
moment.
you'd have. I mean,
Yeah.
just being desensitized to it, I think, would do that for you eventually,
Repetition.
right?
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Like guilt over time becomes easier. I don't mean like in like processing of time. I mean like not guilt, grief. As
Yeah, yeah. That's a
the
different thing.
amount of times that people to die, eventually you're like, well, everybody dies. Like,
Mm.
and that's kind of part of it, right? It becomes that. It's not because you're like a cold person or anything. It's
No.
just that you've processed it many times before, and so makes it a little bit easier to process it again.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I agree.
Um Francisco also said, I always like to believe when it comes to survival in a world with no laws, Charles Darwin's ideology, the hero and the villains get thrown out of the window.
Yeah, I
There
don't
are no
disagree.
heroes or villains, but just people doing people things. And maybe that should have been the story for part 2 instead of the revenge plot arc with Abby. Part 1 and part 2 feel like two distinctive stories in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um
They
feels like
are,
it.
but I would argue that the overarching story of part 2 is that there are no heroes and no villains,
It's just
because
it's
people.
really to drive that home.
in equal
Yeah.
measure, both of these sides of this Abby and Ellie coin are very similar
We'll
in
find out how
almost every
similar.
way. Yeah, exactly. We haven't seen Abby's side of it yet, but we will. I'm assuming season 3 is going to focus on the second half of the game, as this season has focused on the first half of that game. So, I'm sure we will see more of that in the second, or in the third season rather.
By the way, contrary to what we thought would happen, is that we'd go straight to Abby after was it the third or
I
third
wasn't sure.
episode?
Yeah, I wasn't sure what they were going to do, but
Which
they've
made the
they've
clip, by the
divided it
Well,
way.
yeah, we
down the
thought
middle.
they
Yeah.
would go like back and forth, and that would be
Mm-mm.
kind of cool. But no,
Yeah. They've decided to
They did
full
not.
on commit to season 3 being the Abby story, which it's a great story. I hope you guys stick around for it because it's
They
worth
chose
it. I know
violence.
you might not like her, but there's a lot of really good messages. There's a lot of great characters, and I think you will grow to love Abby as a character, as I
Well,
did. Because let's not forget, I did not like her either when I first played this game, but I've come around. She's a likable character. She's a likable person. Like,
Well, I love
They're
splitting the
making-
room,
they're
everybody.
making really interesting decisions for the TV show that I think are kind of making it maybe more digestible than the game, right? Because the game received so much criticism when it came out. People were like,
of
"Bleh."
course.
Oh.
I think a
So-
lot of people were basing that off of strictly the fact that Joel is killed off very early
yeah,
on in the game.
100%.
Like, and that was shocking because you play as Joel through the whole first game, and like, why wouldn't you get to play as him again?
Oh,
You get to play as
yeah.
him for like a hot second in the very beginning, like to ride a horse back to Jackson, and then that's it. But like, and then the rest of it is either Ellie or Abby. So, I get why people were upset about it, but I think looking at it from a distance of time, some time removed from the initial shock of it, it might be reviewed a lot more generously.
well,
And yeah.
what I was going to say is that, I think by doing things like changing this reveal to be earlier,
Mm-hmm.
I think is to make all of this more palatable to the audience. So like instead of having to sit through both this story and then also Abby's story and then finally get this gratification of knowing that she was willing to try
Mm-hmm.
to forgive him, that we get it now so that it makes season 2 not such an emotional like
Downer.
you know, just
Yeah.
well, it's just like a trudge,
Well,
right? Like
Yeah.
through like all of this stuff. So to finally get
I
that
agree.
is like,
Yeah.
okay, well, that's like the uplifting part. And that's fitting for now. And I'm sure there'll be some hook at the end of
Oh,
next week's
I'm
of
episode
even
absolutely
that.
for us
sure.
to really feel
Oh, I
like
know
we
what it's gonna
need
be
to
too.
watch.
I know
Okay.
what
Well,
it's gonna be for sure.
Let me add one
But-
more thing. I think to kind of flesh out what you're saying, though, is on a technical level, you can do what you did in the game because there's a literal hand-eye coordination investment. You are the character. You're moving them around. You're influencing the story. You're punching Nora, as you said earlier.
You're literally hitting her with the pipe. Yeah.
There's a little bit of fallacy of sunk costs. Like, I already did so much horrible crap that I'm finally starting to register that I'm doing because I'm looking at the thing right in the face and looking at Nora right in the face as I'm killing her. There's an investment of fallacy of sunk costs. That's the hook. That's why Druckmann can do all the emotional horrible things to us, and with the hope and prayer that there's a promise of payoff at the end. Here, when it comes to the show, there isn't that technical hand-eye coordinated. You're not manipulating the characters; they're manipulating themselves and showing you the thing, and so you have to feed the birds a little bit. You have to give them a little bit of,
Yeah.
a little bit of extra tuna to the cat.
And I've definitely noticed that in the way that Ellie is portrayed in the series versus in the game, because in game she's a lot less jokey. She's a lot more focused and determined, and almost to a fault, because as I
Murder
said, the
Joel.
whole interaction with Dina finding out that she's pregnant, Ellie takes it very badly, and it makes her, I guess, to some audiences may make her very unlikable, because she doesn't react well to Dina's pregnancy. She doesn't react well to being told they need to go back. She doesn't react well to anything aside from pushing forward to get Abby. That's all she wants to do at the expense of everything else. She doesn't really spend a lot of time joking, even. You have a couple of moments with Dina when they're talking to each other and they're being cute together and everything, but it's not a majority of the gameplay. You're not seeing that side of Ellie's personality. Having the benefit of knowing who she is from the first game makes a big difference.
Right.
But watching the TV series is different, so I understand why they've made those changes. I don't hate them, and I think it was a good place to put the reveal that she gave Joel a chance, or wanted to give him a chance to, to be forgiven or to forgive him. I think it was a great place to put it, because knowing what's going to happen in the next episode, it would be a lot to try to add that in. And also, it is asking a lot to wait for that payoff all the way to the end of season 3.
Right. That's kind of what I'm saying, is that you're asking a
Yeah.
lot of the audience to get that
No, I
reasoning.
absolutely agree with you.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Whereas, you could hook people in game by there's a
I'm
tactile
already invested.
investment.
You have there's also a feedback loop of, like, you enjoy the gameplay even though you might be playing as a character you don't like. The gameplay is essentially the same, so you're still enjoying that aspect of it, because games are fun to play. Like, that's why we play them. Like,
well, and
you know,
why else? There's checkpoints, there's goals, there's a lot of goal-oriented thinking when it comes to
you feel
games.
accomplishing something. You feel like,
that
it just
alone.
makes you,
right?
There's a good feedback loop of, like, positive feelings that you get playing a game, even if you having to shoot dogs.
Reward reinforcement, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a prize for clearing this stage, I'll call it.
Yeah.
Here's a cutscene reward.
Yeah,
It's like not only you accomplish a thing,
more,
you get something back. So
yeah, you do. It's also, it's peppered throughout with, like, the very basic thing. Like, if we go back to some of the earliest games that I played, like Mario, you're going around collecting coins and you get the little power up and stuff like that. The same thing is happening in a game like The Last of Us, where you're going around and you're finding crafting supplies. Like, every time you see that little triangle button, I play on PlayStation, so it's triangle.
Sure.
Every time you see that little triangle button, you're like, ooh, let me check this drawer. And when there's nothing in it, you're like, oh.
Pixel Hunt.
Open it up and you open it up and there's, like, a rag in there. Ooh, yeah, a rag. I need that.
I need everything. Fill up my inventory, my bag of holding.
It's the same basic concept of going around collecting coins. Like, you're going around collecting all these little things, and, like, it gives you an immediate reward to find a crafting thing and put it in your bag, or whatever the mechanic is for whatever game we're talking about.
And it's
Like that is,
and it's
yeah.
flexible. Like you said, you can skip certain beats of the story. I mean, you could skip the guitar shop outright. You can skip all the little notes that are scattered that flesh out the story. You can be like, I'm not interested in that. But then some people will be like,
we missed all of Hillcrest and the awesome Russian guy who became like an amazing archer who like just sniped all of the infected out of the area. Like that was a great side story.
What if that's next? No, I'm kidding. It's not next.
It's not. They passed that point already.
God damn
like,
it.
It's over with.
All right, fine. All right, let's go to a little bit of the chat. Let me just see.
Watch that be the last episode of the season. This is
gosh.
story.
I'll be like, all right, I'm eating my words.
Okay.
Oh wait,
so
Francisco does say Craig just came out saying that they will do the season 4 to tell the rest of the game. I wonder how much they will add in the show. Did he say that for real?
How much more the rest? Are they going to put the entire epilogue into season 4? I mean,
That
I could
could
see
be
them stretching
cool.
that out. It's pretty cool.
Right,
And
like
different.
an intertwined,
Yeah.
And I gotta say, talk about patience. I feel like they're talking to us a little bit because if they're telling us there's going to be 4 seasons, part 2 is going to be, the Abby side.
The rest of Seattle, and then I would say part 4 is probably Santa Barbara, which is the epilogue part.
Oh, okay. Well, the epilogue and maybe a little bit of the end of the 3rd season. So it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is
overlap a little bit, but
yeah, there has to be some overlap because the stories are intertwined.
They're just trying to postpone until the 3rd game comes out.
This is one of those, if they're even going to make one, because they keep saying that they don't want to make another game.
I mean, what is there to say?
The portion of this game, it's almost like the Lord of the Rings with its 25 endings. The epilogue portion of the game feels
that's
like
the best part of
I know,
the Lord of the Rings.
Some people love
Return
it, some people hate it.
I get it. It's like Carl's death. It's
how
a little long.
many endings are there? No, the game feels like it's over with at the end of day 3 in Abby's story, but it's not.
But
and then it just keeps going, and then it keeps going, and then it keeps going, and it's like, this feels like a different game almost. Like it feels like another chapter in a different game, or like an add-on, a DLC, or something like that. It's so different. The environment is different. The enemies are all the same, but it feels like so much more than you were expecting right at the end. Now that I've played it many times, I'm expecting that to be the end. But when I first played it, I was like, how much longer is this thing? Like, this is going on and on. Like, we're introduced to a whole new faction and all kinds of stuff is introduced in the epilogue. The game's almost over. Like, we're adding all this new stuff in. I could see them easily stretching the epilogue into an entire season. I think that they could do that. There's enough there.
And what an opportunity to tell just this is what this was all for. This is and then by way of retreading, obviously you're going to see things along the way that reinforce that what you learned from playing the game or the story, watching the story, that this is the lesson applied essentially. That it can't always be like this, or it can't be all about this mission. Sometimes it has to be about learning when to stop. And what are you fighting for?
That, the lesson wasn't applied.
or that, sure.
Yeah.
Why not? But let's go to the other comments, and we'll go to moths. We keep saying that, by the way. We're never going to go to moths.
That's it. We come back to moths.
Who cares about moths?
It's okay.
Who even cares?
It's fine.
Have you seen the rosy maple moths? They're cool.
No, they're not. They're horrible.
It's the one from Candyman?
They'll fly in your hair and they'll lay eggs in your hair.
The one in the front of Silence of the Lambs, right?
No, that's a death's head moth.
Yeah. That's a cool
That's not what I meant. That one is cool, but that's not what I was talking about.
Yeah.
One time I stepped out on my friend's porch and I was dog sitting for her, and there was one of those giant Atlas moths out there that I only know because I play Animal Crossing, and I nearly died.
I mean,
like I was like not okay.
I thought you were gonna say that you stepped on a moth, and I was like, no, that would traumatize me too. But
no. I wish I had stepped
with
on
your
it,
bare
but it was
feet.
too huge. How would I? Anyway, Francisco said, it's like playing with Rick in a Walking Dead game from the beginning, but then you have to play with Maggie or Negan halfway through.
Yeah,
like the show.
No, I would feel that.
Honestly, I think people have media illiteracy. Oh, thank you, Francisco. It's true. Sometimes, and don't see that video game shows, comics are all different aspects and liberties, and to do and not do what they want. No, I am a bit worried about the God of War show because the director said he only played the game a few minutes and gave up. Oh, good lord.
Oh,
Yeah,
Um,
that's
I
concerning.
would be
Okay.
very afraid because
Well,
there's a
that's
lot
gonna
of
be,
lessons in the second game, at least, as far as I've seen,
Oh, yes.
about fathers
Yeah.
and sons. Oh my god,
Yes.
It's
Oh,
a
it's so
great
good.
series.
I didn't play it, but I watched Travis play all of it, and
So
he
it
was
good.
very
just
emotionally invested. I could tell from your face.
it's very riveting.
It
Oh,
is.
I
It's so
was
good.
invested. I
Oh,
was
okay.
so invested in that.
Like,
Anyway,
when are we playing God of War again?
when are you playing that again? Because I'd really
I
like
need
to
to know what
see.
happens.
I'm really
Um,
eager to re-traumatize myself. Sure,
Yeah, I need to know what's
So-
going on.
it's like
So
The
I do want to
Witcher.
mention Sharon D also did share her thoughts in
Okay.
our Discord. So I just wanted to read off what she said, but she didn't say a lot, so I'll just say it really quickly. But my main takeaway is that I'm so happy that they had a moment of understanding and reconciliation before Joel died. Everyone's
Mhm.
sentiment, really,
Yes.
and that Tony Dalton was perfect casting.
Perfect. He looks like
He
Joel.
really
Looks like
was.
Pedro
He really
Pascal.
was. It was so good, and that Joel wears his father's watch.
Yes.
That's the watch that gets passed down to Ellie.
Oh, and Sarah fixes that watch in the first
Mhm.
episode
Gets it
because she loves
fixed.
him.
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
sing that. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
Moths.
that's it. That's it.
How
Oh
can you not love that? That's so adorable.
I mean, it's cute from a distance or up close. I don't know.
It's pink and yellow, and look at
I
its little
don't want
antenna.
it near me.
Oh my God,
I'm
it's so
not even
cute, though.
afraid
It
of
is kinda
bugs. That's the
beautiful.
other thing.
Just get it away from me.
I'm not afraid of bugs. But
I'm sure you
moths-
agree, Karina, a little bit.
Moths are a different story.
No, moths don't bother me unless they're trying to be in my mouth. Like that's that would bother me. But
That's what they're trying to do when they fly at you.
get in your mouth. I mean,
Yes,
yeah, I
yes,
can
yes.
see why
Everybody,
that's
stop
annoying.
talking right now. Because, yeah, I'm just gonna
Dave's
move on.
also terrified of moths now.
No, just you saying that, and also stop saying "get in my mouth" because
Because that's why
Replace
we get
moth with
Restream
something
bots
else. It's
showing
crazy.
up saying cheap viewers here.
oh yeah, Streambo. Yeah, let's do Streambo.com. Everybody, an advertisement for Streambo.com. Give me money,
Stream boo,
please.
Dave.
Money.
Stream boo.
Which, by the way, speaking of money, you could have all along have tipped us during the stream, and a message would actually pop up on the screen if you head over to
Does.
ko-fi.com/squawkingdead/tip if you're interested. And when you do tip us, a little message comes up, and it actually reads out your message along with your tip. So if you have any questions that you want to stop the podcast and have us answer you right away, that's why we'll do that. Because of that, and in gratitude to your tip. I should have said that from the start, but hey, here we are, everybody. Streambo.com. Give us money, please.
Anyway, moving on.
To moths, and why that's
Moths.
important.
Let's talk about
She
it.
was hoping we'd forget.
About the moths.
I find
I
it.
can't forget.
I find it really interesting that at a very young age, Ellie. Well, I mean, there's a greater, obviously, narrative reason for why she thinks about death, or maybe she doesn't know she's thinking about death, but she apparently read it in a book, so she knows she's dreaming about death, or if she's using that as an excuse, I don't know. Bridget, what did you take from that meaning? Let's say that Ellie says it but doesn't say it, all of it.
The death meaning?
Yeah, she says it, but she doesn't say it's about death. She says it's in a dream that I had, but is that real? And Joel is interested enough to know
I don't
about
know
it.
if that's real or not, but what I
Well, it might
thought
be, but it
about-
might not be. We don't know.
we don't know, Dave.
I love that about you.
What I thought about when it comes to that is that she's been surrounded by death her whole life. I mean, she grew up in this world, in this post-apocalyptic world. So death has always been around her. So dreaming about it wouldn't be that unusual. I'm not big on dream interpretation. I believe that it's a possibility, right? Like obviously it's in the Bible. I believe in the Bible, so I believe that it's possible. But I find that God often doesn't give you a gift that you cannot decipher. So it seems a little bit weird to me that you would go to a professional to be like, tell me what this dream means. But the people did that in history, so who knows? Who am I to say one way or the other? I agreed with Gail when she said the stupid doctors do that. I was like, yeah, that's fair.
I kind of agree with that too, but I just meant like in a narrative
I just think it's like a pseudoscience. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I don't give it much credibility, but I think it's an interesting idea. Yeah, narrative wise, to say that you dream about death a lot. Like, what's the significance of that? Again, it's that she's been surrounded by it. Is it foretelling in some way? Maybe it could have been viewed as like a premonition of some kind. Um, and then to what extent is it like, is it a recurring dream? Are you having the same dream over and over again? If that's the case, is it always about the same moth, or is it a specific moth, or are you seeing moths everywhere? You know what I mean? There's a lot of information we just don't
I
have.
wished I looked it up, actually, the specific pattern of that moth.
Oh, that could have been
Well, maybe I'll do that for the next episode.
informative in some way.
Mm.
Um, what I think is interesting is the choice to hide it from Joel. That's really what the most interesting part of it
In
is.
plain sight, too, which is kind of interesting, right? They're
Yeah,
all over the
it's-
walls.
Yeah,
How
Like you're
interesting.
I feel
tattooing
like
it
she
on your
wasn't
body.
really hiding it so much as just not discussing it with him, because there's a
Well, and
difference,
that's
right?
I just mean like the hiding, like when he asks point blank
Mhm.
to hide the meaning, to say
Oh.
like,
Yeah,
I don't
no,
want
of
to
course,
talk
of
about
course.
the meaning.
And
Right.
That's the part that's kind of weird to me, because yeah, she's not hiding it; it's everywhere. She literally has it on her arm now. So there is.
oh, well, then that's one, because the moth itself has camouflage. And what is she trying to do with the tattoo? Like
Yeah,
camouflage her
camouflage
bites.
it. Yeah,
That's
the burn,
that's something
yeah.
there. Okay. That death was here, possibly, but
Also,
not for
Yeah.
me.
yeah, exactly. A literal sense of this thing that should have killed me didn't, and therefore I'm gonna mark it with the symbol of death. You know what I mean? In
I
a
think
way,
there's
you know?
more weight to it in terms of like, if we're looking at this concept of like, is she the key to preventing death? That's like where
Sorry.
I think this gets like a little bit like, is that why you don't want to talk about it? Because Joel could understand, you're surrounded by death, you've grown up around it, he's been surrounded by death.
Mhm.
Everyone in this world knows that. I mean, it's a bit obvious, it's a bit on the nose for you to be like, yeah, I'm a teenager and I have feelings and
Feelings.
nobody gets me.
I'm
Okay, so,
sorry
like,
though.
I've
Let me
been
just say
there.
this one thing, because I find it overwhelmingly common to the point where you can say every teenager or every young person does not think about death. To the point where my wife is
No?
my wife. Well, they think about death in the abstract, but they do not think about their mortality. Can we agree with that? Because
I don't know, I did, so that's a little
Yeah,
horrifying,
I mean,
but okay.
let me drill down on that.
Maybe this is the wrong like sample group to have. For
Well,
this
then why would you
question.
do drugs? If you knew that like that would lead you down that, because when I'm talking about mortality, I mean I'm talking about your own mortality and that you
It's
will
not
die
a fear
now.
of mortality, Dave.
What?
It's not a fear of my mortality.
Or
I
it's
think in a way,
You're talking to someone mentally unwell, so like.
oh,
I just,
okay. Oh, so never mind. Let's
like,
skip
don't you
over
feel
these.
like I'm
Like-
probably the wrong sample group for what
let
you're
me
doing.
just
Certainly-
let me articulate a little bit, because my wife is a high school teacher, so
Yeah.
a lot of the people she deals with are people who do not understand the consequences of their actions. Why would they? They're kids. Is my point. Is that they
Their frontal
don't.
lobes are undeveloped.
Well, there's that, sure, but there's the idea of consequences. Like every action has an equal and opposite reaction. They don't live, and why would they? Because their parents want to protect them from those things, to give them enough of a life to live, to kind of get whatever it is out of their system, or to have little less consequences for the action, because they're still learning and growing. And why, that's rational, right? You don't want to punish your kids for a thing they didn't know existed, right? Fire burns when you're a kid. You don't know that until you touch it, but hopefully you can, with repetition, we talked about that earlier, you can tell them enough, or you can show them a YouTube video of how much it hurts, but they still might actually touch the fire. See, this is like the thing you're kind of dealing with these kids, is that they, even if you show them a PSA of somebody smoking and the after effects of smoking, they'll be like, yeah, fine, I'm going to live forever, essentially. So that's not going to happen to me, not precious me.
Yes, I will, and I will say that, Dave, I did also feel that way, but those two things are not mutually exclusive. You can not fear your mortality and at the same time be like unaware. I don't know.
Well, no. Let me drill down a little bit on that, because it's
Okay.
like as you get older, those two, you could say that when you're younger, you have an idea or a concept of it, and you have this, that I'm going to live forever. But as you get older, those two things aren't as mutually exclusive. And even though I still vape, and I know that could have, it's not 100%, proven issues.
He's doing it right
I'm
now.
still a child. I'm still going to live forever, but still I understand it. What I'm trying to say is I like this is in the show, but also that's having this little thing that she's thinking about tells you or links. I mean, this is what I think. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I have a teenager in my house.
Ugh.
Excuse me. Links to the end of the episode. Because what she says right after Joel admits it is, I was supposed to die. And maybe she had that in her head the entire time, what it would take to have to get the cure. I'm saying it works nicely narratively on a story level. I don't know. And let me speak to Spooky Bridget for a minute. Well, I won't say spooky,
Okay.
but also spiritual Bridget. Because I could see a world in which one could say, I had a feeling about something that I couldn't put my finger on this whole time. That sometimes messages or feelings are sent or delivered to you by a higher power, let's say, and that you can't quite put a finger on it. You don't know exactly what it is until it finally has been revealed. That's the way I felt the entire time, that I was supposed to die, had it not been for a divine intervention sort of situation.
Sure, I could definitely see that. I mean, dude, you're talking to a person who was driving, crying in her car, contemplating leaving my entire life behind, and a wiffle ball
I've been there.
came through an opening in my vehicle this big and hit me in the side of my head. So,
Say, knock it
you
off.
know, yeah, I've told this story before. Like, that's insane. Like, what are the odds? Those are astronomical odds.
So astronomical. The way that
so,
thing
yeah,
whizzes
like,
through the
definitely.
air. Woo.
It's a wiffle ball. Like,
Yeah.
how?
It curves and bends through the air.
Also, what if it
that,
had been a real
though.
baseball? Like, everything
Right,
happened
right.
exactly as it was supposed to.
You just got to tap.
You know, yeah. So I could definitely see that. Well, and that's why I said, like, is it the premonition of things
Right.
upcoming? Right.
Well, but yeah, you weren't specific. I was thinking not even the premonition of things upcoming, what was supposed to happen prior to.
Sure.
That's
I could
that's
see
kind of what I'm referring to. Like,
I could see that.
it's not like I'm living on borrowed time, but it's more the feeling like,
Well,
was I
is it-
spared
is it-
something? Should I be aware
Is
of
it
it?
the survivor's guilt? It's like, because she
Yeah.
knows what happened. Deep down, she knows what happened. Her questions that she comes up with, the formulation of those questions, everything is so specific, Dave. She knows what happened. She's just looking for the confirmation that it happened in the way that she fears. So she knows deep down inside, she's like, this is probably what happened, but he lied to me. And is he capable of lying to my face like that and being so utterly convincing? And that's all she's waiting for, is to find out whether or not he can really lie to her that way, the way that he lies to other people.
Turns out he
Right.
can. Yeah.
He
Well,
can't.
And did.
And I say this only because, like, I don't think people jump to the idea that she would have to die to get the cure. If I was the one who had the cure, I wouldn't think that. I'd be like, oh, they just take some blood, and which is kind of what was said on the show. They take some blood and do the thing, and hey, vaccine, hey, all right. But because that knowledge was concealed from her, like she didn't know the reason why. She
Right.
just thought like, oh, and I don't know. I don't know what she thought. Let me put it that way. But I do think that it's possible that the only way she would know is through this kind of feeling or whatnot. Not about the truth, but the idea that she would have to die to get the cure. I think is that plausible?
I mean, it is plausible. I think, you know, in speaking of the scene that they didn't really cut from the series, but sort of combined into the porch scene, she asks him, "Why would you stop them?" And he just calmly explains that making the cure would have killed you, and I wasn't going to let them do that. And so, and then she also has a similar reaction where she's like, then it was my choice. You know, it should have been my choice to decide to do that, and you took that choice away from me. And that's, you know, kind of what she says on the porch scene, where she's like, you took the choice away from me. Like
I was supposed to die.
It wasn't your right. Yeah, it wasn't your right to choose that for me.
You're
And
a minor.
My same argument of, if the Fireflies would have just let them have a conversation before they took her away, like, all of this could have been avoided, all of it. But like, they just decided that they knew best, and they whisked her right into the surgery, straight from nearly drowning, by the way, in game. Like, she almost drowns, and then they immediately take her to this hospital, and she's knocked out for the entire time. She has no knowledge of ever actually getting there or anything. Like, that's what a wild way to like whisk someone into surgery like that with no chance to say goodbye, no chance to do any of that stuff. And like,
And you understand why
it's
now.
their fault. Yeah, it's their fault. And like, you know, Joel's actions were Joel's actions, but if he could have had that conversation with Ellie where she could have made an informed decision and said, okay, yeah, I see that making the cure is going to kill me, but I can choose to do that for the greater good. This isn't your choice to make. It's my choice. Please let me make this choice. You know what I mean? I think things would have been different. I think he maybe would have reluctantly allowed her to do that and it would have broken him, but I think he would have done it. You don't think so?
I don't think so at all, actually. I think it would have always ended up the way, had he known. Obviously, he got that intel and found out, oh, wait, hold on a second. She'd have to die or maybe die or even a chance of her dying, whatever.
Mhm.
It sounds like they'd have to, because it was the brain. That's what they had to get to. I don't know if they were that explicit on the show about that, but he had overheard it, let's say on the show. And he said, wait. Okay, hold on a second. The only other side of that conversation I want to focus on just a bit, and then we should move on, but is the idea that from the first episode of the first season, it's clear that the Fireflies bomb indiscriminately, they kill indiscriminately, and the Wolves, WLF, is kind of like a, had they succeeded, WLF. That's what would have happened. And then they would become more and more. And they would become like Fedra.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. The WLF arose against Fedra, just like the Fireflies did. And then then became sort of
Fedra.
Exactly the same thing, like essentially. I mean, and in the Hillcrest story, they mentioned that like we didn't fight and die to keep our independence for this neighborhood, just for this new group to tell us to do the exact same thing that the last group was telling us to do. Like, I don't think we should listen to them. Like, you know, yeah, they're bigger and stronger than us, but like, what do we do all this sacrificing for if they're just going to do exactly the same thing that the last group did that we were fighting against, you know?
Right.
And it raises a good point. And there's a great conversation between Abby and Owen about a very similar thing about them being Fireflies and the things that they did as Fireflies in context and in juxtaposition to Seraphites. So, you know, it's
and we'll probably get that?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we will. It's a conversation they have in a flashback scene. So possibly, yeah, we might get that. Yeah. So I am curious for how that's going to play out because I said they have omitted a big piece of storytelling information from the scenes with Abby and her group. They've taken out a story element altogether from the series that I'm not going to mention specifically until we actually see it happen.
I agree. Okay,
season 3. So, so I'm curious to know because it sort of has to do with that, sort of not really. But yeah, they have a really great conversation about how the Seraphites do very similar things to what the Fireflies used to do to Fedra. So in the Seraphites'
so are we the bad
eyes,
guys?
like, are we the bad guys? And like, you know, them having this conversation and she doesn't really want to hear it necessarily. Like, no, I'm not the bad guy here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're just... She's like, basically, she just dismisses it as
don't
saying,
be an
like,
idiot.
Don't say that in front of everybody else. Like,
yeah,
you know, don't talk about that.
Like, don't let Isaac Dixon hear you say that.
Yeah,
okay, because he'll just murk you. No, but yeah, to hit that point even harder, going back to Salt Lake, I think they would have killed Joel preemptively had they known he would have had because he doesn't know. They don't know that they have this relationship.
They were going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
Because they were like, let him go, and then they kept all of his supplies. So essentially, they were either going to kill him by sending him out there with no supplies, which is basically a death sentence, or they were just going to shoot him as soon as they got him out the doors anyway, because that's exactly what was going to happen, which is why he attacked the guard to get his stuff back. And the same thing happens in the game, where they're like, you know, Marlene's like, see him out. In other words, like, get rid of him.
See,
like,
it don't want to be you. Yeah.
Yeah, like, get rid of this guy because I know he's going to be a problem. Let's just, like, take care of it right away. Like, they knew they were just going to kill him anyway. And, like, how ungrateful that they got your miracle cure all the way across the country, like, without help, without supplies, completely against what the actual plan was. Like, he got her there anyway, and your thanks for that is to just take him out after, just assassinate him at the end of it. Like, ungrateful. I don't think the Fireflies are good guys.
Right,
like, they pretend like they are, but they're not really.
It's such a great stacking, like, because everything is sort of morally gray in a sense. Because well, can you blame them in a sense if you're thinking about the greater good?
Yeah,
But
I
then
mean,
also
yes,
you're
in
also
the same
bad.
way. In the same, like I said, there are no heroes and there are no villains really if you start to look at it and you pick it apart, because what would have been the safest choice? Well, Joel is the kind of person who's going to cause problems for us, and he would never go for us doing what we need to do to get this cure out of Ellie. So let's take care of the problem before it becomes a problem. Just like Joel took out Eugene and took care of the problem before it became a problem, before he had a chance to turn and to possibly infect other people. Like, it's the same kind of thinking. It's justifiable, but it's also cruel. And are they at a point in their survival where they can start from Dead City? Are we living or are we just surviving? Like, what point do we get to move away from just surviving and start living? And
Right.
like, I think a lot of these decisions are being made still with that survival mentality, which who can blame them?
Yeah,
You know what
exactly.
I mean? Like,
I say that with that in mind. Yeah, that
yeah.
you can, as much as I will rail against the Fireflies for being actually in many ways incompetent as well.
Right. Yeah. There's that.
There's the spirit of the thing, which is, who can blame them for trying? Well, I
Mhm.
can, but still, I see that point. Right. Anyway, we should go to something I spotted in the comments. Thank you, Francisco. The Haddosaurus, because
Oh,
one of the things. Well, let me read the full comment. Don't forget about the Haddosaurus jokes, Karina. We need it after all
Yep.
this conversation about death.
I was
Okay.
circling around. Yeah. I was gonna get there. Oh, so I'm explaining it now. Okay.
Sure,
So,
why not?
all right. So, Ellie's birthday. I think it's her 15th birthday or 16th birthday. 16th birthday for the series. Pretty sure, because she asked for a convertible, or she thought she was getting one. Anyway, that flashback scene occurs with them walking through the woods, just like they are, and she's
16th,
trying 16th. She's trying to guess her birthday gift, and she goes through the range of things like, is it a dinosaur? Is it she says, is it a bunch of kittens? And he's like, a litter? And she's like, what is a litter? A lotter of kittens. And, is it a convertible? And is it sneakers? And he's like, don't you have enough of those already? And she's like, never. So she's a shoe girl too. Like, she just likes Converse. And like,
so removed anyway, from the show. Ugh.
Yeah.
Criminal.
And criminal jokes, they get to this museum, and it is MF and dinosaur, and that scene is amazing and great. And I love, small changes. She jumps off of the dinosaur into a pool of water because they had to swim to get there in the game. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just to illustrate that she knows how to swim now. That's the only reason. So,
it's a game mechanic. You'll get it.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. It's not important. So yeah, same basic idea. She climbs up on top of the T-Rex and, nearly falls off of it. And Joel's like, what are you doing? He's freaking out. And they go inside the museum, and there's a whole dinosaur exhibit. So we skip all of that in the series, and we go straight to the space exploration part, which is also part of the game, and it is beautiful. I love that scene, and this is the main reason I said I think you guys are going to love this episode, because I knew that this was coming in this episode. But I do miss that we did not get some of the gems of jokes that we get in the dinosaur scene, because we get to see Ellie's personality a little bit more, where, as I said, in the game, in the present moment of the game, she's very laser focused on this revenge mission, and she does not care about frivolity or any of that kind of stuff. She's barely flirting with Dina, you know what I mean? Like, that's all we really get from her. And you get to have these little flashbacks where not only do we get to see Joel some more, but we also get to see Ellie's real personality, like who she is at the core. Who she was. Yeah, is she still that person or not? So they get in. She finds immediately like a Indiana Jones style archaeologist hat, and she puts it on, and she's walking around, and she goes behind the desk and finds this old phone, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, all the dinosaurs are busy. And she's like, oh wait, one's right here, Joel, it's for you. And one of my favorite jokes. And he's like, very funny, let's go. And then she goes around the corner. She's got this dinosaur pamphlet, and she's going through, like, looking at all of the displays and reading them out and mispronouncing every single one of them. And I love it, because how do you know how to say any of those things? And she's reading about it in the pamphlet, and she's, Joel is making comments like, hey, I saw this one. There was this one movie. He's very clearly talking about Jurassic Park. And this could be the reason that they omitted the entire section, because he makes several references to this movie. he never says it by name in the game, but it's, you know what he's talking about. And I think maybe
Licensing.
it could have been a licensing thing where they were just like, well, if we're going to be true to the game in the sense of the conversations that they're having, we kind of need to omit this whole thing because it has a lot to do with Jurassic Park, because how could it not?
And also, how does that fit into the story? It seems like even including the dinosaurs is just a little bit of fan service, right?
It a little bit. I mean, it's just a world
just
building
enough.
thing. It's a moment for you to enjoy Joel and Ellie having a normal day together. So anyway, she has this hat, and she decides her thing is going to be she's going to place this hat on top of a dinosaur skeleton. And he's like, what are you doing? You know, she's like, what? It's funny. It's great. It's really fun. And she's like, look, it's a hatosaurus. And and then you can pick it up. And obviously you're controlling Ellie doing this. So you can choose as many times as you would like to place the hat upon each individual fossil. So there's like a Stegosaurus, a Triceratops, a Dimetrodon, all kinds that you can place it on top of. And, his commentary through the whole thing is like, is this going to be a thing? And she's like, it's great. At the end of it, near the end of it, you can choose to put it on Joel, which I always choose to do because it's great. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, don't you dare take it off. And basically, she's like, it's my birthday. You cannot take it off. And he's like, all right, fine. So they go upstairs towards the end, and it's like a Brachiosaurus or a Brontosaurus or something, a long neck dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
And she makes the parallel that it reminds her of the giraffe. And so, of course, that's a huge symbolic thing from the first game and the first series. And Joel throws the hat onto Brontosaurus, where we now cannot get it off of there because it's far enough away from your reach, that
your in-game mechanic
it's there
reach.
now. Yeah, like it's there now, you're not getting it off. And he's like, I see the appeal. She's like, see, I told you it was fun. So then they proceed into the area with the space stuff, which she is just amazed over. And that same device that she's cranking to like do the solar system and everything, that's in the game. You can spend some time looking at the displays and things like that. So to me, it felt a little rushed getting them into the capsule, but at the same time, do you need all of that story building stuff for that scene in the series? No, you get the meat of it. It's fine. It just, for me, being the gamer, I was like, where's the rest of it? Like, it's all magical and they're cutting it out. But I still loved the scene. They kept it true. I love also the little nods to gameplay that they give you in small moments that may not be noticeable to you guys, where she breaks the glass to get the helmet out.
Well, he gives her the rock with which to do that. Yeah,
it's a very, very common game mechanic to just throw something through a window to get what you want. And you don't have to do that in that moment in the game. It's just available to you. You just pick up the helmet and you go. But just throwing those little nods to gameplay in there without it being intrusive or obvious to a non-gamer, I think is a very smart way to throw those things in without it feeling fan servicey. Like, it felt natural for the scene. Like, oh, she's got to break the glass to get that. That makes sense. It didn't feel like, oh, we're taking a minute and we're gonna do the listening mechanic in a very literal way.
As somebody who didn't play the games, yes, it did feel natural.
See,
so
I told you.
I'm just confirming.
But yeah, I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on that scene, because I know how it makes me feel in the game every time I see it. It makes me tear up every time I see that scene of her in the helmet, just imagining taking off. Like, it's so emotional because of how pure that scene is compared to everything else that's going on in this game. That's very heavy and emotionally draining. You get to see this moment where something is magical for her, where she maybe has never experienced that in her life before. As kids, us growing up, we might get to go to a theme park or go watch a movie and stuff like that, where she doesn't really get a lot of opportunities to do those things in her life. So right. I think it's a super special scene.
I thought it was a little cruel. Actually, no, I don't. Let me complete that thought, because she never will. And that's just like, here's the thing you'll never have. So enjoy it. This is what we lost, everybody.
Any of us,
okay.
Dave,
I really
are
am
any
kidding.
of us going to go to space?
I have hopes. Also, I'm going to live forever. Just so, I'm still a teenager.
Aside from synths who are going to live forever,
Okay.
Bridget, you'll say
stuff.
Well,
I do have opinions on this scene. And I'm going to say it, and then, I do need to leave because we've been here for 2.5 hours
But
now.
we're
So
enjoying
Okay.
ourselves, right, Francisco?
that's fine. But
Also, Nia's the
I
one. I think
need
he's
to
still
go to
there.
bed.
It's fine.
So okay, so that scene in particular, one, it's so overwhelmingly emotional to watch. Like as someone who has not played the game, I do feel that it's intensely emotional.
Hmm.
Um, it does have to do with the fact that you're getting a break from like the trudge that is the story, but also it just goes to show the depth of Joel's love for Ellie, which is like, to know that he found this a while ago, saved it for a special day,
Hmm.
that
Just thinking of her.
he found the tape that played the
Yeah.
sound that you can assume was probably like accessible in the museum, but
Yeah.
you had to find out where that was
And like
and
a
get it out
working
of
one
there,
that wasn't
and yeah,
destroyed by nature or whatever. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
Batteries
yeah, I
after
Yeah.
all this
The
time?
whole idea of like getting a Walkman or whatever to that
yeah,
works and a working audio tape of a launch, like of
yeah, it's
a capsule
insane
launch.
to
Like,
think about. Um, so I was really moved by that scene because it was beautiful, and the acting in the scene is phenomenal. Bella's face, like that look of pure joy while the sun is like
hmm,
coming down on her and she's like basking in that light. Well, not even the sun, but the light from a launch.
yeah,
As
this
she's like living
imagined,
out this
yeah.
dream in her head is just, it's so incredibly beautiful, and like what a beautiful piece of acting and cinematography to deliver that to the audience. um in a personal perspective, I just felt sad. Like, I don't know, maybe you guys have different experiences growing up, but like, have you ever been given a gift like that? Like, so,
I'll never get a gift like that. It's fine.
oh my gosh, so intensely beautiful, so intensely
Hmm.
thoughtful and connected, and like all I could think was, this is the type of parent I want to be for my kids.
Hmm.
But also, you're enough, Bridget. Just want to say that. You're enough. Just want to say
Well,
that.
like,
Like I
but
said
like just
earlier.
knowing that, like, because my parents were not perfect people, like by any means, no one's are. But had a tumultuous life. It's
Yeah.
not been all sunshine and happiness, and so like seeing this just, it hit like a part of me that I was like, oh my god, like I cannot imagine how would I even respond receiving a gift like that. Like for her to know love in such a way from Joel that she feels safe to sit there and close her eyes and feel this
Hmm.
is just so beautiful and so incredible and such a rarity in our world now, and they're in
Yeah.
the apocalypse.
I
It's
know.
just,
Yeah.
I don't
And then
know.
for him to feel like he needs to ask her, like, did he do enough? Like, did I do good? Like, you know
Goes
what I
back
mean?
to what I was
That's the
saying.
Like,
old world.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
the old world seeping
Yeah.
in.
Um.
Like,
Yeah, but the villain, like always, like, is this enough? Am I enough? Yeah,
yeah. Did I do all right? Like,
I'm
was
not
it
I
used to
stupid?
this.
Oh, see, that's why I ask if I'm the villain of the podcast, because I do stuff like this and then cry on stream, and then I'm like,
No, no. But I will say,
seems like maybe I am.
but we
Uh,
talked a big game about Joel and seeing himself as a villain and mission oriented thinking, like, but just for the
Hmm.
sake of the mission, like, kill them before they kill you, that sort of thing. Well,
Hmm.
isn't it interesting to see somebody change and change
Yeah.
the mission parameters? And the mission is, I'm gonna walk through life, and every time I see, you have to really appreciate this. I'm gonna walk through life, and every time I see something that's the person I love might appreciate, I'm gonna file it. I'm gonna put a pin in it for later.
Hmm.
Not just birthdays, but just like I imagine this extends beyond birthdays. And
It
like,
oh
does.
yeah.
There's actually a scene where, in another flashback that they kind of glossed over and used in a different area, where Ellie is on patrol with Tommy and Joel, and
that's cool.
Joel is
Uncle Tommy.
Tommy's letting her use the sniper rifle, and of course that's a fun gameplay moment. And then you're riding out with Joel, and this is after or right before she's discovered the actual secret, so
Mm.
it's roughly a year before. And she's already starting to have that sort of divide. You can kind of tell her mind is elsewhere, and she can't stop thinking about something is bothering her. So her relationship with Joel is starting to get a little distant and a little strained. But they go out on this patrol together, and Joel says and makes it a point to mention, hey, we were on patrol through this other area, and I found some of those like Star comics that you like. I don't remember the name of the actual comic, but this sci-fi thing that she enjoys. And she's like, oh yeah, what did you think of them? And he starts describing, because he read the comics that she loves. Like, he
What?
found them and read the comics so that he would understand what she
Loves about
likes.
it.
And and what she likes about it. And he's like, I think, and he starts, it makes it clear that he actually did read these comics and formed a real opinion about them, because he starts talking about the characters, and he's like, I feel like she's kind of cool. And Ellie's like, yeah, she's a real badass. And he's like, I think this one guy got what he deserved, though. And she's like, oh yeah, for sure. And like, like, he's having this whole conversation with her about this thing that she loves, and he never would have. He even mentions, he's like, it's not really my thing, but I know you like them, and so I read them while I was out on patrol. And like, so yes, it does extend beyond special occasions and birthdays. He is trying to make a real connection with her. He wants to have a real solid relationship. He wants to understand who she is and why she likes the things that she likes. So to see him be such a devoted father does strike a chord, especially I think with people who didn't have that in their life.
Yeah. The idea that you can, you want to do your best to understand your child so you can better interact with them, or just
Yeah.
because,
And that's how it should be. It's how it should
yeah,
be.
exactly.
But
That's
it's just like, it's just so beautiful to see it like depicted in this way
Mhm.
in a world where nothing is the same as it is now.
right,
To see that still be a constant.
that we're making room for this.
Yeah, I was gonna
in
say, like,
that kind of life.
in a type of life where it would be easy to justify not having time for that kind of thing, he's still
Exactly.
making time for it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and where in today's world we've got parents who can't be bothered with even that.
Savage Starlight.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Savage
Francisco.
Starlight,
I couldn't
thank you.
remember it either. I was like,
I was like,
Francisco,
looks like my comic
the
she
credit
likes.
San
I knew there's Star was
San
in it
Francisco.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Saint Francisco, San Francisco.
Saint
Thank
Francisco.
well, now
Yeah,
that's what I'm
so-
going to call him from now on.
Saint
San Francisco.
But yeah, it's definitely, it hits that emotional like chord of seeing this, in a way, this guy is striving his best to be a good father, and in ways he's surpassing the examples that we may have in our own lives of what we could not everybody, but
No,
myself and clearly Bridget also, like, you know what I mean? Like, we did not have the best examples of fathers in our lives, and to see somebody who's like, this isn't even his biological kid, and he wants to make this connection, and he's trying so hard to make it happen, and it's like, wow, what would it be like to have that in your life?
well, and that's, unfortunately, that is like, statistically speaking, that's like what, a majority in America now. So I'm wondering,
I don't know about that, but
it's close.
it feels like it.
It's
Feels
close.
like it
feels
is,
like
yeah.
it. I would say.
I would
that's what I
say that maybe that's why this game resonated with so many people, because this is like, for some people, this feels like a hole that you were like looking to fill, as like the, and that's, I think, why people connected with Joel so well. And then for him to be killed off, I think it's why people had such a visceral reaction to it. 'cause
Yes,
it's like,
very much so.
he's
Very much
like
so.
your father figure.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
as
he's
what
you
as what
for a
happens
time
with,
too.
Also,
Yeah.
it's Pedro Pascal, and he's like
His
the most
daddy,
loved
Pascal.
actor
he is daddy
in the world right now, and like, how could you do this?
Can I hit on something that I feel like there's a sentiment here? You're striking a bit of gold here, because it's not just for kids to see how it could be or whatever and all that, but then when you see that father figure or parental figure removed from the equation, it's a lesson for children too, to not hold on to anger, and even if things are bad, that to have a little, well, like you were saying about your friend Bridget, to leave a little room for people to try to see, and it's
Just
not
everybody is imperfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the primary reasoning. But also it's to kind of allow for the possibility for people to change. Because if you keep that door closed, there's a greater chance that they won't. Because you've closed the door. There's no reason. They'll always think of themselves as a villain in your eyes.
I just think it further drives home that concept of like,
So it's for
even if
children
you
too, is
didn't-
what I'm saying.
Even
Sorry.
if you didn't receive this love, you can do better,
That's it. That's it.
right? Like,
But wasn't that the first scene? Isn't that the first scene? He's saying,
Yeah.
I know
Maybe
you
Yeah.
do a little
don't
better.
like me right
Yeah.
now, but
Yeah.
maybe when you have one of your own,
Mm-hmm.
And
you'll
my
understand
best
me.
will still not be the best, but
Right.
at least it's another step in the right direction, right? So
Look at
like,
this show. Look at this game. Like, it's such a great way
Game
of
is so
communicating
good.
these
Yeah.
feelings and to
Yeah.
allow it, like, even in the brutal world where you have to kill everything, basically.
Yeah.
That, you know, leave room for the people you care about on either side of the equation. As a parent playing the game and you have kids, like, I want to hit you. And no, don't do that. But also maybe leave a little room for your kids to have a little room for them to kind of educate themselves and come around. You know, it's not always about you, parents,
Well,
because they are that
I
way
don't know. We
sometimes,
say
aren't
this
they?
all the time, but like, these zombie shows, they're just zombie shows, but they make us cry
Yeah.
I know, right?
because
For a
they're like
reason.
Not just zombie
intensely
shows.
emotional. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like
There's more to that flashback scene I would like to talk about. I know that Bridget's trying to leave, but so I don't know if
let's
if
angle
she
for
wants
the
to
end.
stay for yeah.
Yeah.
So not to interrupt the conversation that we're having, but you know,
I think we're done with
this this scene in the series ends with her seeing actual fireflies in the forest, and it sort of for a moment distracts her. In the
It's
game,
the start of it, I think.
yeah, I think so. And
The 15th
in the
birthday, I
game,
think,
of
right?
course,
16th.
16th birthday. In the game, of course, this scene is different.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't see a literal firefly, but she sees the remnants of a firefly, like a member of the
Fireflies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
She goes into
Less subtle.
another. Yeah, very less subtle, extremely so. She goes into another area of the building that Joel had not explored yet because she just wanted to see more of it. And he's like, all right, fine, let's try to figure out a way in. She gets in, he can't get in the same way. So she's supposed to be going through to look for a door to unlock for him. In the meantime, so you're now in the natural history. So like there's a bunch of like stuffed animals everywhere, like taxidermied animals, I should
Oh,
say.
okay,
Like
okay,
not
okay.
stuffed animals, but
It's like a little teddy bear.
taxidermied animals, representing a whole range of, wildlife and things like that. And there's no lighting or power or anything obviously in here, so it's very creepy. And every time she shines the light somewhere, you see the glowing eyes of these animals, which is very, very eerie. So it's taken a very different turn from this beautiful scene of her imagining herself in this shuttle launch to now we're going through this haunted forest kind of. And she's seeing all these spray painted notes on the walls. Things like, we locked them in the van and lit it on fire. And then the kid was just running through the street. I couldn't stop him before he hit the mines.
Wow.
And just horrible things that you're seeing throughout. And, Ellie's making comments like, man, this guy needed a hug. And like, eventually you see the body of this firefly because he paints the firefly symbol. And he says, he paints a firefly symbol and it says, there is no light. And so a complete reversal of look for the light. He says there is no light because clearly this man has experienced as a firefly doing all these horrible things to people. For what reason, he can't decipher, in his little suicide note that he writes, saying like, I just can't do it anymore and I can't live with the things that I've done. And he's like, please forgive me. And, obviously he has killed himself. And, you're left to crawl through a small opening to get out of here after seeing this. And you get surprised by a boar, like just a wild boar, and it knocks her down. And Joel busts through a door moments later, and he's like, hey, come on, like, we got to get out of here. Like, I want to make a camp. I want to make a fire before it gets dark. And she's like, yeah, okay. And like, obviously this experience has triggered something in her. So it has a much more sinister tilt to it. When she sees this firefly symbol on the wall and the fact that this firefly is disillusioned with what happened. And I think she's starting to connect the idea that her not making the cure, not being able to make the cure, is what led directly to this guy's falling apart of the fireflies. Because previous to that, the fireflies, her experience with them is that they're like these freedom fighters who are striving to make the world better, and then obviously all of that fell apart. And I think she sort of internalizes that a little bit and places the blame of that on her because she wasn't able to provide this cure that they were looking so forward to. And such pressure to put on yourself at 16, that you're somehow responsible for this person you've never met and their decisions to treat people in the world the way that they did. Like, I can't imagine what that must feel like. You know what I mean?
That you
And
could,
then
that
that
you're
sort of
directly
is the start.
responsible for their actions as
Yeah, exactly.
individuals.
Because you weren't able to provide this cure that they were so looking forward to, that she then must feel. And this is not something that she says out loud. This is just something that I've interpreted from the game, and I could be incorrect in my interpretation of it, but I've played it through many times, and it definitely does seem to be the catalyst or the thing that reignites her like intention to figure out what really happened. Because I think in the same way that you mentioned, she saw the firefly, the literal firefly in the forest, and she it starts her on this idea, like reigniting that little nagging doubt that Joel lied to her, because she knew that he lied to her at the end of the first season. And she chose to ignore it.
The nagging doubt, but also the idea that here I am enjoying myself at the height of my ecstasy, right? That
Survivor's guilt. Yep. I'm
then,
feeling such a good way about my life, and what right do I have to do that when I should be dead?
And what could have been. Right.
Yeah,
or exactly. I could have provided the cure, but it just wasn't meant to, I wasn't enough. Oh, I wasn't enough.
Exactly.
See, there's like another, I feel like Joel now.
Whatever the reason why I wasn't able to provide a cure for these people, it's my fault. And how could I enjoy my life going forward when other people's lives are falling apart because of it, Or so I am led to believe, at least playing through that area, that she feels in some way personally responsible for what happened to this guy.
Right.
In the same way that she feels personally responsible for a lot of the people that she's not able to save, like Eugene. And like another example that I don't think we're going to see in the flashbacks sequences in the series, where it's during the same time, like around the same time where she's like on the trip with Joel and Tommy, when she's on patrol with them. They go through a hotel building, and they get ambushed by quite a lot of infected, including a bloater, which almost kills Ellie. Yeah, it's pretty intense. It's an interesting combat scene, but she also feels responsible because they found bodies of people who had run away from Jackson, and they write in their note, Jackson is a great place. We don't fault anybody who wants to live there, but we can't keep seeing all these refugees coming into this town and not do anything to help them. So we're going to go out into the world and see if we can help them. And unfortunately, they write in later on in their note, like, we barely got an hour out of Jackson. We got attacked by a horde. We're both bit. We're not going to turn into these monsters. So they make like a murder-suicide type of pact.
Yep.
And the boyfriend kills the girlfriend and then writes on the back of the note, I can't do it. I'm a coward. And he ends up turning into a clicker by the time they find him. And so Ellie, of course, comes across this, and in her mind, she's like, this is my fault. This happened to these people because of me. And so I think she internalizes all of those instances where she feels like she failed people that she doesn't even know. You know what I mean? She's taking on a lot of burden that unnecessarily, and she's not discussing this with Joel or with anybody. So she's just left to spiral out about it.
She doesn't know about you as a player. So you're just
exactly.
this weird omniscient viewer going on here.
Yeah, exactly. So she's putting a lot of pressure on herself, and this build up to her confronting Joel, is much more drawn out. Like I said, these are all separate flashbacks that these are happening in.
Oh, it's a nice way of showing you what you're talking about in the game to the audience in a way that makes more sense for the audience,
it's
I think.
A passage of time of like her leading up to her decision to confront Joel, and also some of her motivations for why she, I think, feels like she needs to, I guess, make up for what happened to Joel in a way. And like just seeing this change and finding out what happened also between the events of the first and second game, because like I said, we start with her 5 years after the events of the first game. It's like 5 years is a lot of time, especially when you're talking about a kid going from 14 to 19. Like, you know what I mean? It's a huge gap of time that we're also learning about what happened to her. So I forgot the point I was making that originally.
Well, it was about the Firefly seeing the literal
Right,
fireflies
just-
versus the firefly body in the game.
Right, that catalyst for her to decide to make a change. So
Right. And I actually, when you were describing the firefly body in the game, I was thinking the other way, that like this is a seed for later on about human nature or how bad the fireflies were. This is like an indicator of how bad they were. We thought we were the heroes.
I think it's also that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
also that. But from her
It's funny how we see
limited
things.
perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
from her
of course.
limited perspective of it, this is how she's interpreting it. For us as the player, as the viewer, easily you can see that, okay, the fireflies weren't the best people to be giving this miracle cure over to, because again, as we discussed, what guarantee did we have that everyone was going to get it?
Was
It wasn't
Fedra going to
be
get
everyone.
it?
It was
No.
only going to be other fireflies and people they deemed important.
Right.
They wouldn't have given it to
It's
everybody.
a lot of power.
Exactly.
for
So
one person.
it's foolish to think that they would have just magnanimously given it to the world. Like that would not have happened. They definitely would have monetized it probably, and they would keep it for the people that they felt deserved it, which would not be the common folk, you know.
True. Yeah. I mean, I think about that a lot. I think that's it. I did want to mention one tiny little thing, which was the title sequence. That's like we're going back to the beginning. But you do see the dual fungus that represents the silhouettes of Ellie and Joel at the end of the title sequence, which I thought was kind of... I did do the thing where I was like, oh, their brother's back. It's Joel's back. It's the silhouette.
They're both of them.
Which is kind of like... It's so manipulative, too.
It is.
It's a little bit of Druckmann in there. It's like, you know, let's bring it back just to take it away in the next episode.
Just for a moment, and until the next episode when everything falls apart again,
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So... yeah, wow. What an episode. I have to say, so far, I feel I'm safe to say that, and this usually happens with penultimate episodes, I feel like that becomes my favorite episode, and this one clearly is mine because we got so much out of it. I guess maybe self-servingly as a podcast, because we got to dig into so much.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes in. Obviously, on the Spotify podcast, it's going to be shorter. But, or the podcast platforms. But just so you know, like we went through something, everybody that watched the YouTube replay and Francisco watching live. Let's do
just like cut out my crying, and that's like half an hour.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I cut out laughing and
Stop.
crying. Right. No, I
Yeah,
never cut out. I actually leave some of the pauses in when you cry too, for effect. Because
It's more poignant.
it sounds really terrible it really does sound bad when you cut it short. Right, yeah, like right between what is it called? Not dregs, jags. Right. Ugh.
Jags.
So let's read the last of comments. Huh? Right, Francisco? I saw your comment earlier. And then we'll call it an evening.
Oh, me? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're the comments chat master.
Well, yeah, but then you went back and you did it yourself.
I
and
just
was
did
like, well,
one.
clearly, I'm not needed anymore.
You're always needed, Bridget. You're enough, Bridget. Oh.
Okay, so all right, it's just all Francisco, so I'm not even gonna say anything else.
Fine.
It's just all Francisco. Okay. God of War 3 is one of the best games, hand down. But also it depends on how they explain it without hurting anyone's feelings. That's like
Impossible.
about your kids, like
Right.
showing your kids like the warning about like fire or whatever.
Mhm.
Right.
Look at Final Destination. It's all about Death's design.
That's kind of what I was saying. Yeah. Thank you, Francisco.
I would love if they showed it next season in a flashback so we could have more good moments with Ellie and Joel before jumping into reality. That's in reference to the dinosaur.
Oh, if they go back and show it
aspect,
later.
that
Okay.
exhibit. Mhm.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe they can film without the Jurassic Park references.
I'm sure they could, yeah.
Because HBO would be getting copyrights left and right with that.
For sure.
Gamers be like, they stole it from us, Carmine. They took it.
They took it. I don't know what that's from.
I don't know what
GTA
that's in
3?
reference to.
GTA
Is it
3.
GTA 3?
It's-
Okay. I didn't play
I
that
think it
one.
was very beautiful because the discovery of space, that world needs to be enjoyed in some capacity, just like enjoying zoos.
Mhm.
Best part is that it's a free gift for Ellie because that space museum you would have to pay to see. It's priceless for her and Joel, though.
And you probably for sure would not be able to get inside the capsule in a museum.
Oh,
You can't
100%
touch anything.
not.
On
So
top of
this
that,
is
they-
an experience she could only have had in the time period that she was born. So
Can I
I've
just say one
enjoyed
thing
this-
about that? It's like, this is also a lesson for us in life, is that we have these things with which we can visit, probably not go inside the capsule, But
No.
don't let stuff like that pass you by. Go to a museum. Go to watch an art exhibit. See an exhibit from a friend or a friend of a friend. Have some wine and cheese and whatnot, or whatever you decide to do. But just live life. It goes.
Joel does mention that he brought Sarah to or she dragged him to every museum in the state. So,
Oh yeah.
in the conversations that they have with each other in that scene. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Francisco also said, I enjoyed this streaming. I can't believe that we only have one left now, but I've enjoyed the discussion, lore dumps, and the seriousness of these characters. Why did it have to be fireflies? Why can't it be butterflies?
Now we know.
They're just day moths. Get out of here.
Day moths.
Another bloater in the show would be sick. Tommy burning that bloater in Jackson was raw.
Please less bloaters, please.
I really missed seeing Joel in the intro. It gave me hope. And Neo said, "We're leaving the crying."
Yes, we're doing it live.
Leave it in.
And Francisco said, "I'm almost falling asleep, but I am still here. Let's allow Francisco to go to sleep, and also me."
And if you want to go, to sleep, everyone, well, before you do, or maybe when you wake up the next day, head on over to ratethispodcast.com/squawking dead. 5 stars and I think there's only a butterfly emoji is all we need to know that you love us. Is there a firefly emoji or a lightning bug, as Bridget would say?
It's a lightning bug.
bolt.
And no.
Well,
but yeah, you could do a lightning bolt and then a bug.
Or you could do a fly and a lightning bolt. I know those two exist. So leave whatever. You know what? Do whatever you want.
Whatever the heck you want.
Just remember to leave it after every single episode. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Communicate with us like Neo's the one did in the YouTube comments, or like Iris Boysenberry did in our Spotify coverage of the Dark Winds. She left there are comments on Spotify. You can leave, which I have to read. There are actually some new ones today, which I haven't yet. Well, I will.
Oh.
So do that because I have to express this because we have analytics. We can see how many people watch the show. The problem is sometimes I'm not sure because podcasts are aggregate and some of the stream numbers are inflated because some podcast platforms download the audio and make it available on their site. So it's very mixed in terms of what we can see. It's not easily clear. It is really great to see that people are watching. So when you do respond, it does actually help us understand what you want on the extreme of the end of things. But it's also nice to hear every now and again. So
it really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
And
I mean, that's why I say Neo's our ride or die, because like ever since he started watching and making comments, you've continued to make comments and be here for the lives, and I really appreciate that. Francisco, you're always here for these lives. I'm so thankful for you.
I love you too.
Don't think that I'm not saying I'm thankful for you.
Yes, San Francisco. Oh, look at Rob.
We love you.
I have to say his name. Laksheze, right? Because Croniale. Gino Croniale. Anyway.
Not you. Not this again, Dave. Not you with the... He's got the hand and he's doing the whole thing.
Croniale. So yeah, Rob says, I got to follow you more closely. I just saw you guys were live. Yeah, well, it happens.
Hi, Rob.
The camp apparently had a stream. It's a whole thing. We don't have their reach. But Lucchese, thank you very much. I love to be corrected. Thank you.
Now he's going to go, Lucchese. That's what he's going to do.
Oh my gosh.
But yes, again, it helps to know that we're on the right track. And Rob proves that point. I didn't know he was watching, and he let us know. And that really helps. We're closing out, Rob, just so you know. So go beyond that. You can tip us on stream when we do go live. Your message will show up. It'll be auto didacted into my ears and will show on the stream to all the other people and also everybody else. When you do tip us, it'll show that you did buy us a coffee or something. When you head on over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, in return, we give you the unedited episode recordings when we don't go live, as well as my pre-squawk insights, which are filled with tons and tons of reference links that may end up making it to the blog. It may not. Usually does not, actually. This lets you into my thought process as well, and it's all for your tip. And take it further. You also get forever access to our Discord when you tip, but take it further. Join a membership tier on either Ko-fi or patreon.com/squawkingdead or ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, and you will get more access to our Discord. You'll get, if you happen to join the Whisperers Survivors or Great MT, you'll get a free classic t-shirt upon signing up. Whisperers have to wait a little longer. if you happen to join the Survivors or Great M tier, you can show up in these episodes along with us, lending us your thoughts alongside us. And if you happen to join the Great M tier, you'll have access to our core channel on our Discord where we talk about all things internal. You will have the ability to bring up things in the core channel for us to digest and think about. Because you'll be a junior producer, you have that right. You join the calls, you are part of it all. And I will say, if you're skittish about joining it now because of the sticker shock, wait a little while because we're going to be reformatting our membership tiers so it is a little bit more enticing for everybody. I just want to bring more people into the conversation and how we shape this podcast. And if in consolidating these tiers and making them more appetizing to others, and we get more people on stream to discuss their thoughts as well, I would hope that would be something you'd want. And you know what? I look forward to it. I love it. And I've been
true.
here.
He can be bullied into agreeing with you. So like,
Yeah,
just know that.
I'm just slow to. I'm Joel Miller. I can't believe how much I'm identifying with. I didn't think I would actually until this episode. And well, I'm not Joel Miller. I've been your host, David Cameo, and I was joined by
Bridget. You can find me at ko-fi.com/punkybrewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER.
And Karina, it's CARINAE_D on Instagram and Etta Karina Art on everything else.
Yeah. And I hope to God, given the episode length on YouTube and undoubtedly the link that it will be on podcast platforms, that you enjoyed this. I thank you for watching this far, including Rob Lucchese, who joined us on Facebook.
Yes. And Rob, please, because we'll see you on Saturday, please come and tell me I am Rob Lucchese. Like, don't leave it. Don't come up to me and be like, hey, I'm not going to know. Just tell me.
I might know.
Just tell me.
I follow
Just
him
tell
on TikTok.
Just tell me and be like,
So.
I'm Rob Lucchese, and
Don't do
I'll
that.
know.
Don't do that. It's fine. It's
I'll
fine.
know.
Do that.
But
No, we'll make
only
fun
I
of
get to
Dave.
do that.
It'll be fine.
Okay, I'm the ethnic one. Okay, so it's fine. I'm the ethnic one, he says. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. And I'm looking forward to the penultimate episode, if not for the fact that the camp will be occurring this weekend, which we will be at the camp. And so you should go to if you happen to be in the area or are going. Let us know in the comments if you are going, because we want to meet you. And just please don't assume we'll know who you are, because sometimes we're crazy.
I don't follow everybody on Facebook, and
I do.
I don't look at Facebook, so I'm so sorry. But but I would love to meet you. So
Well,
if you're there, just come find me.
And I'm saying all this because it may take a little while longer for us to get the episode breakdown for the season finale of season 2 of The Last of Us. It may take us a little longer for maybe even the Dead City episode, but we do have some plans to do some things at the camp if it's even possible. Kind of like the interview that we did with Logan Schmucker, who played Victor on The Walking Dead Dead City, which we just released. It's past 10 o'clock. No, it's almost hitting 10 o'clock. In 4 minutes, that episode will drop on all
There you go.
podcast
Go straight there.
platforms.
Go straight there.
So we're hoping to do something similar with the coverage of Dead City's episode this weekend. So, hey, everybody, I can't wait to see the next one. Can't wait to break it down alongside with you, including San Francisco over there in the chat. And we'll see you next time.
We love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you.
Bridget, you're enough.